A bottle of... Oh, shit. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
Where the hell is the fucking Hall of Fame?
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
How dare you say such things about a widow?
Did she eat the corpse?
Right. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your head and let it flow into me. I can see inside you the sickness is rising.
I think he's some kind of darky.
Seems that all that was good has died.
He living in my coattail.
Oh no, the world is a scary place.
Quiet down on the Christmas show, for fuck's sake!
Now that you've woken up the demon in me.
Whose idea was this?
Why?
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You
Sit on my face.
fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
Go, get it.
Open up your head and let it flow into me. Why can't you just fuck up the guy?
As they do. He got out.
Here it comes. Get ready to die. Get ready to fuckers.
Die.
Is this the world-famous Brent Kremen?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Brent.
Hello, Bryan. Hello, Vince.
You're on the air.
I thought I might be.
Brent, a lot of people have been asking for you to return to the show, and I keep saying, well, we'll get Brent on the show here at some point. We'll call him sometime, this, that, and the other thing. But of late, you've gone all Brent on us. You've been calling and texting and emailing repeatedly, talking about how you need Dixie Carter's phone number and you need to get to Texas.
That's right. I have a take on this whole situation with Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle and Karen Angle and Uncle Zebekiah.
You have a take on it.
Yes.
Uncle Zebekiah, you say.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is your take, Brent?
Well, Kurt and Karen are separated. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And they're not on good terms. They have no particular desire to get back together. Correct?
Correct.
So, and Jeff Jarrett we've completed his mourning period. His wife's been deceased for a while, and if he wants to get to be involved with basically a single woman, seems to be his and Karen's prerogative. They're basically dating, and I don't know what Kurt's issue is, and Dixie Carter gets involved in this whole thing and sends Jeff Jarrett home, who basically started this promotion with his father, and not only that, I don't know what Dutch Uncle Zebekiah Mantell had to do with this, and Charles pull up your pants Ashenoff Conan had to do with this. And, I guess they're both friends with Jeff Jarrett, and so she's getting rid of his friends as well. And so
Brent,
I'd like to go, and I looked on the TNA website, and they used to have a phone number listed on the website. As I called there on occasion when I had a question, and the phone number is no longer on the website, and so I wanted the phone number, I wanted the email, and because as I'm saying, this doesn't make any sense why you're getting rid of Jarrett and why you're getting rid of, certainly it doesn't make any sense why you're getting rid of his friends, and it doesn't make any sense why would you have a booking committee that consists of Vince Russo and apparently Jim Cornette, who have two completely different ideas of wrestling. I mean, I'm sure Cornette is just banging his head against the wall. I'm sure he's just going completely nuts, and he's probably saying, "Please, Dixie, why don't you just go and put me back on just the television character, so I'm a television character and I can do my rants in character, and they won't really, I won't have any power behind the scenes, and so I won't have to do my rants to Vince Russo, and he won't care what I have to say." I mean, he just has got to be driving him nuts to actually have to work with Vince Russo. Is this true? Is Jim Cornette and Vince Russo putting together these television shows now?
They did put together the television show that we just watched, yes.
What was the show like? I didn't see it, but what was the show like?
It was actually...
those two with their completely different ideas.
Yes, it was better per TNA standards. Yeah. Now, wait, Brent.
I certainly would not want to be Cornette working with Russo. I mean, I cannot imagine Russo sitting at home as a young man watching NWA Championship Wrestling with the Midnight Express coming out there with Cornette and his tennis racket. I can't imagine him watching that and thinking, "Gee, this is a good interview. This is good television." I can't imagine him being influenced by that at all.
Now, Brent, let me allow you to take a breath here, and I want to ask you a very important question. You mentioned calling TNA in the past when you had questions. Can you give us a recap of, for example, what the question was, and take us through the call?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a while. I mean, things just sort of pop up in my head, like would pop up in most wrestling fans' heads, and so I would actually just go and call TNA, ask for the appropriate person that might be able to answer that question. They usually wouldn't answer the question, and if they weren't there, I would usually leave a message on the voicemail or something.
And
like one time when WCW was in business, I just asked for Kevin Sullivan's voicemail, and I left a message on his voicemail when he was the booker.
Please tell me you started by saying, "This is Brent Kremen," and then left your phone number.
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Thank you.
I do recall that one time, Brent, you called in when I think Gabe Sapolsky was on Observer Live, and you wanted to make sure that he had heard the booking advice that you had given him.
That sounds like something I would do.
Maybe it wasn't Gabe. Maybe it was someone in TNA.
Yeah, it might have been
Jim Cornette, perhaps.
It was like one of the Canadian guys.
It was Scott D'Amore.
Yeah, Scott D'Amore, that's right.
That's right. You called to give Scott D'Amore booking advice. You wanted to know if he'd followed up on it.
Yeah. Why they were pushing all the over-the-hill WCW guys instead of the younger guys, and why they weren't using them to put the younger guys over.
Yeah, do you regret that now that you've seen Scott D'Amore booking and now Vince Russo?
Well, I don't regret asking the question.
Okay, all right. So I obviously can't give a number for anybody on the air here, Brent, but maybe we can try and do some investigations and try and come up with that telephone number. And maybe
I don't see any harm for you giving out the general TNA office number.
Why don't we ask the fans listening right now, if they know the number to the TNA offices, they can put it on your MySpace, which is myspace.com/the Kremen, correct?
Yes, and I'm also on Facebook.
Oh, that's right. Brent Kremen on Facebook, and which is
confirm this.
Better than MySpace, by the way. So is it just facebook.com/Brent Kremen?
Yeah, I don't remember, but if they enter my name on Facebook, I am there.
He's one of my friends.
Okay, yeah.
So you go to my page and get to him from there.
You can go through the 2,500 friends I have and find Brent Kremen as well, if you care enough. Now, Brent, you so with that out of the way, we don't have an answer for you. Would you mind quickly telling us why you need to go to Texas?
Galveston, Texas.
I believe that part of this plan involves you staying at my house. Is this the M1 conference call today?
That's why there's an ambulance,
Oh.
So
Is Vadim Finkelstein
there? I want to go to Galveston, Texas, because Ron Paul ran for president, and he was a representative in Congress. He wasn't very popular within his own party. I mean, there would be things that would go on during the Republican debate, such as Dr. Paul, because he's a physician. He was asked during the debate, "What are your comments on the Iraq War?" And he would say, "It's an illegal war. Only the president has only Congress has the power to declare war. President Bush declared war. It was an illegal war. Thank you, Dr. Paul." And so they wouldn't ask him anything for a long time after that. So his own party doesn't like him very much, and so he's being challenged within the Republican Party in the primary, and so he's having a fundraiser in his district of Galveston, Texas, not too far from Victoria, Texas, and I believe one of his constituents is none other than Steve Williams, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And
you want his number too?
And so I would very much like to go there. A couple of guest speakers are going to be Barry Goldwater's son, as well as Judge Andrew Napolitano.
What about Kane? Is he going to be there?
What?
Kane, is he going to be there?
Only if he lives in the district in Texas.
Yeah, Glenn Jacobs. We'll use his civilian name, so you're not confused.
Right.
Brent, let me just, I want to clarify something here before you go on. I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So Ron Paul is having a fundraiser, so you're trying to raise funds so you can go to the fundraiser, at which point you'll have no money to actually contribute to his fund.
That is a good point. I mean, I could probably come up with $50 on my own, but the problem is I can't come up with the I looked a few weeks, like a week ago, on Priceline, and I was trying to fly there, and the cheapest I could get was $500. I simply don't have it, and so I can't. And I was looking at trains. Trains were like $1,000, and actually cost more on a train than on a plane or a bus. And the bus is like $300 if you do 7 days notice, and then of course from Seattle to Galveston, Texas,
okay.
with the food that you're eating along the way, and with the layovers where you're staying in a hotel, it's as much as a plane. So that's not worth it. And so they basically can't afford it.
Brent. Okay, couple things. First off, so basically you're asking me to come up with $500 so you can fly there.
Well, I'm saying if one of your listeners out there lives near Galveston, Texas, and wants to spend some time with Brent Kremen, and do your gales with stories,
Scott Williams,
then
the deputy editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter,
try and help me out and raise some funds to get me to Galveston, and we'll go see Ron Paul.
The deputy editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Scott Williams, I believe, lives in or near Galveston, Texas. I'm sure he'd love to spend the weekend with you. But let me ask you this question, Brent. How long would it take for you to go there via bus if you, say, did the bus?
4 days.
4 days on the bus.
3 to 4 days, because there's layovers, and you see, during some of those layovers, I would probably have to go and stay in Motel 6s, and so if you go and you factor in the expense of that and food, it costs as much as it does to fly.
But you could just sleep on the bus, perhaps.
No, because they make you get off the bus and they make you sit there and until the next bus arrives.
But you could sleep in the bus station.
No, well, at least the bus station in Seattle, they close at night, so they throw you out.
So you can sleep outside the bus station. It's much warmer down there near Texas.
That depends on what the city ordinances are in regards to staying on the sidewalk. In Seattle, we used to have a city attorney named Mark Sidern who made it illegal to sit on the sidewalk.
All right, now I think that among people listening to this at this very moment, there are probably a few people that might be willing to chip in to put you on a fucking bus down to Galveston, Texas, for perhaps a lifetime.
But I would be willing to take, if somebody was willing to pay for the bus trip and pay for the lodging and I'd pay for the food, that would be fine. Then I would be willing to. I'd do that, and then I'd figure out some way to get back.
Could you promise us an exclusive interview with Steve Williams, the artist formerly known as Stone Cold Steve Austin?
If you can find out how to get a hold of him, it'll be no problem for me to get to Victoria and get an exclusive interview with him. No problem.
No problem.
Hold on a second.
Like you have.
If I can get you his number, you will have no problem going and getting an interview at his home, for example.
Well, I'll have no problem attempting. Whether he's willing to give it to me is another matter.
I see.
I'll certainly try.
I see. All right, Brent. Well, listen, we're running low on time here, but let us mull over this idea of sending you to Galveston, Texas on a bus to get an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and perhaps we'll have a follow-up next week. When is this get-together?
Now, by the way, if none of you have seen or have any idea who Ron Paul is, by the way, this thing is on the 15th, so it's a little over a week from now. Go see the movie with Sacha Baron Cohen, Bruno, and they have a scene with Ron Paul in there.
All right, well, we'll check that out. All right, we're gonna cut you off here in a second, Brent, but let us mull this over, and we will be in contact.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Pure legit spazzy.
I'm exhausted.
That's a real guy, everybody. That's a real...
completely blown up.
A legit man right there. A complete and total human being. Let's get this show on the road with SummerSlam 1993. I remember this. I watched this pay-per-view. I bought it, believe it or not. And we only watched the last two matches. Looking up and down the card, there was a lot of shit I didn't want to see. Now,
I will say you bypassed not only Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler, but also Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect.
Listen. I want to see stuff. Okay? Obviously, Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler, I seem to recall being pretty good. And was it the Kiss My Foot match? May have been.
One of those. Yeah.
And I'm sure actually Shawn was it Perfect?
Yeah.
I don't think that was as great as it should have been.
I'm sure it was not bad.
I seem to recall that. But, seriously, I'm not missing Undertaker against the Giant Gonzalez and Lex Luger against Yokozuna, which I still remember fucking vividly to this day. So
I hope so. We just watched it 10 minutes ago.
I remembered long before we watched it. I remembered there is a back suplex that Yokozuna delivered to Lex Luger in this match that I remembered for 15 years. If you would have quizzed me about that match, I would have been able to, I can't say I would remember the match move for move, but I would have remembered a shitload of it, which is just baffling when you think about all the shit I don't remember today. But it had Shawn Diesel and IRS on the phone talking to fans. That's how this part 2 opened up. Who the fuck called these things? If you're listening to this right now and used to call these things to talk to, like, Shawn Michaels after his match with Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1993, please email us and tell us the tale or call into one of the radio shows.
Sure.
Because I just need to know who these people were. It was amazing. Mullets.
They called in. Shawn and Diesel and IRS were on the phone, and the host, who was Ray Rougeau, he says, "Who would you like to talk to?" Shockingly, they chose Shawn Michaels, and they closed in on Shawn Michaels, who had a lot of hair. And he basically cut a promo on Marty Jannetty on the phone there.
Yeah.
Quite a deal.
Ludwig Borga and Marty Jannetty, I didn't watch. I was going to watch it to see if Kozlov is better than Ludwig Borga, but I actually don't care that much. And fast-forwarding it, he did look better. Or he looked worse, I'm sorry.
No, he
Kozlov
looked
significantly better than Ludwig Borga in fast-forward. But Borga was working with Marty Jannetty, so he was probably significantly worse than he appeared on SummerSlam. So there's your answer. Vladimir Kozlov in irregular speed is better than Ludwig Borga in fast-forward.
Right.
Giant fucking Gonzalez and The Undertaker. This was a bad match.
That's true.
Maybe, I don't know what people rated this match in 1993. I guess in a couple of years we'll find out in The Observer. Maybe people thought it was one of the worst matches of all time. All I know is that I've seen so many bad matches in the last few years that this was just another one of them. And in some ways, this was significantly better than a lot of the bad matches I see nowadays, because there were spots in this match where, like, Paul Bearer had to return. Gonzalez was out there with Harvey Whippleman, and Undertaker had no manager, and at one point Paul Bearer returned, and later Paul Bearer got the urn, and when he gained possession of the urn, the place just went fucking nuts, and I was like, hey, they are into this shit.
Yes.
So if you're into this shit, more power to you. You're doing something right. So Giant Gonzalez, who, it's kind of sad, but I believe he's wheelchair-bound today.
That was last I heard.
Yeah, but he was really horrible. His strikes are better than Jenna Maraska's. I could say that.
Yes.
I would have said much worse about Giant Gonzalez had I not watched the Jenna Maraska match several weeks back.
That has lowered the bar so deeply.
Yeah?
That it's hard to compare what we would have said about Gonzalez, say, a month ago, to this, but he came out, and I had forgotten how just ridiculously huge he was.
He's a big man.
He's way bigger than, for example, Big Show or Khali.
Yeah.
And then you watch him walk around, and, think about, like, Khali walking around. He looks like he's in pain all the time. Gonzalez walks around okay. So you think, well, he should be fine. Or not maybe fine, but I have not seen him in many a year. But then he starts to wrestle, and between his, he tried to do the big man, take 8 clotheslines in a row but don't go down spot, but wobble a little more every time. And between that and his forearms, he seemed like a guy who was wrestling under gunpoint. He had no interest in being there. I cannot fathom how a guy, who by this point, by the way, have been doing this for years.
That makes no difference when you suck.
How could he be that bad?
He was horrendous. Taker sold like crazy for the guy.
Did what he could.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, he would make a mad scramble for the urn to get people into it.
Yeah. And finally, Barrett got the urn and raised it up, and it caused Taker to make a giant comeback. Hit a bunch of clotheslines and a clothesline off the top for the pinfall. I should note that Vince McMahon was calling him Giant Gonzalez. I don't know why I found that so funny, but he kept referring to him as the Giant Gonzalez. So, there you go.
I don't think he was gone. He may have been.
Gonzalez!
He may have been gone. And this is something else I had forgotten, because I remember the build-up to the show after watching this, but they explained, when going over the introductions, there was basically no count out, no DQ. I think that was the rules. And so they do their match. Taker wins. Vince is screaming. He's being in his Vince voice. 1, 2, 3, he got him. He really did. Then he says, now we know what a rest in peace match is. I had forgotten that part of the build-up to the show was Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez would be wrestling in a rest in peace match, and nobody knew what that was.
Yeah.
The build was you had to buy the pay-per-view to find out what the rules were. Stupid.
No one bought the pay-per-view for this fucking match, okay?
That's also true.
No buys. An early version of it right here.
Archaic no buys.
4 stars compared to Sharmell and Jenna. And Gonzalez's suit, by the way, wow. That was something else. It was airbrushed muscles and fur.
Airbrushed fur.
Disgusting.
We had the discussion once. I claimed Giant Gonzalez had the worst gear of all time.
So wrong.
And you pointed out someone somewhere put a lot of work into airbrushing abs onto this thing.
Yeah. As
opposed to, for example, Mystery Man in the dying days of WCW.
As opposed to The Mummy. As opposed to Zack Ryder having only one leg. Come on now.
I would go with the airbrushed abs is worse than Zack Ryder's one leg.
I wouldn't, because I'd wear a singlet with airbrush abs before I just cut one leg off my tights like a complete fool.
What about airbrushed fur so it looks like you're some nude primitive man?
Sure, great. If I get a main event with Undertaker at SummerSlam,
fair enough.
Fine with that.
Fair enough.
Gonzalez killed Whippleman afterwards. No one cared.
And then he just walked out. Fine. He is not severely beaten by the Undertaker. He just was pinned, was fine, left.
Cornette did an interview
Wait, I do have to talk about more about this.
Oh, Jesus. We only have an hour.
He chokeslammed Harvey Whippleman, who weighs about 84 pounds. Harvey Whippleman got about 3 inches off the ground.
It's because he didn't want to go up.
He didn't want to go up, and Gonzalez didn't want to lift him.
We had Cornette interviewing Yokozuna. By the way, the Winged Eagle, as everyone is well aware, is still the best belt in the history of the WWE. Just thought I'd throw that out there. God, looking at that belt and then looking at the fucking spinner belt nowadays makes me want to vomit. And I don't even really care all that much about what the belts look like.
You've been vomiting a lot lately.
Jesus. And an awesome promo by Cornette. And I don't think Yokozuna blinked a single time.
No, he just stared at the camera. It zoomed in on his eyes at one point, and he stared there looking mean, not blinking. Cornette ranted and raved about how Lex couldn't handle this, and all the help of the Americans wouldn't help him, and Yoko's a beast. And the last thing Lex would hear was this, and Yoko screamed, "Bonsai!" and it ended.
Simone's and Bam Bam Bigelow against Tatanka and the Smoking Guns. I did not watch this match. There you go.
It was probably not very important.
They interviewed the driver of the Lex Express. For those of you that were not around during this period, Lex Luger was going to be like the man in WWE. And they did this angle on July 4th on the USS Intrepid, where everybody was trying to body slam Yokozuna, and nobody could. And finally, Lex Luger ran in.
He flew in on a helicopter.
He flew in on a helicopter, that's right. He hit this body slam, supposedly. It was kind of like it was the world's strongest slam that Mark Henry does, although he didn't even get him that high. So he does this move, and the heels, of course, are talking about how it wasn't a real body slam and this and that. But anyway, Luger's going to get a shot at SummerSlam, so they set up this fucking bus tour, the Lex Express, which is supposedly going city to city with Lex Luger, meeting handicapped children, the homeless, kissing babies, the whole 9 yards. So Luger's doing all this stuff, leading to a match at SummerSlam with Yokozuna. Now, the original plan was Luger was going to win the match and the title at SummerSlam. They'd done all of this build. They put so much fucking work into it. And somewhere along the way, Vince changed his mind. An early example of this. And Vince thought, hey, it'll be better if Lex Luger wins the championship at WrestleMania instead. So we'll say this is his only shot at the title. He'll win via count out. They'll rule that he's not getting another shot. He'll go on to win the Royal Rumble, and at that point he will get the shot at Yokozuna at WrestleMania. And what happened was they ended up with Luger and Bret Hart going over the ropes at the same time at the Royal Rumble. And as they were polling the fans about who won, there were loud cheers for Bret Hart and boos and such for Lex Luger. So Vince decided, well, fuck this guy. And so Luger never got his title run. Bret Hart ended up beating Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10 after beating Owen Hart in the opener in a 5-star match. And I remembered all of that off the top of my fucking head, and I would not be able to remember half of fucking Raw without my notes. So there you go. That led to this match. In hindsight, looking back, I had the exact same thought that I had in 1993, which was, why the fuck didn't they just change the title here? They spent 2 fucking months building this up. 2 fucking months. They had Yokozuna out there as the champion. They had a guy singing the Japanese national anthem horribly. They had Aaron Neville singing the American national anthem. They did the fancy ring introductions, which they did a lot more back then with Finkel. And between Finkel and the ring entrances and the national anthem, this really seemed like an important world championship match for a belt that actually meant something.
This was a big fucking deal.
I'm trying to remember the last time I thought that about a WWE match. And it's part of the problem is we've got 3 world titles in WWE. So that right there is part of the problem, which further... I further strongly believe they should merge all the titles into one unified champion, but that's another argument for another day. But so anyway, they do this match, and I always thought, and I guess years later when I read about Yokozuna, and I always remembered from my childhood that Yokozuna was like a much better worker than people gave him credit for being. And later on, he passed away, and you read some bios, and you listen to people and this and that, and I hadn't watched Yokozuna in a decade, and I thought, maybe I was just a kid, Maybe I was young when I watched Yokozuna.
Standards change as you grow up.
Yeah, my standards changed. Nope, he was a fucking good worker.
Yes.
He was...
Oh, my God.
He was not like... he was not Vader. He was not Brock Lesnar or anything like that. But, Jesus Christ, the guy knew how to pace a match. Mm-hmm. He fucking carried Lex Luger.
Yes.
He fucking ran.
Yeah.
Boy, did this fucker run.
He was not Evan Bourne or Chris Sabin flying around the ring nonstop. But when it came time to move...
He hit the ropes faster than Carlito.
He fucking moved, yeah. About a minute in, Lex whipped Yoko in, and I assumed, okay, here's the spot where the Giant would do a reversal. Nope. Yoko just hit the ropes.
Nope.
Hit him hard.
There's another
point where he went for an elbow, and Lex was down, and Yoko stood there for a second, and he went to hit the ropes in 2 steps, full speed.
If we had Yoko and Carlito in a 50-yard dash, my money's on Yokozuna. Mm-hmm. Well, not today because he's dead, which, looking at his enormous girth here, I don't know how anybody could be too surprised. That is unhealthy, everybody.
And, of course, he got bigger.
Yes. So, anyway, they had this match, and, Yoko carried Luger to a pretty damn decent little world title match here. Luger did some stuff early, and Yoko was moving like a madman. Then they got the heat, and Yoko cut him off and that sort of thing, and then Luger made his comeback, and they did this and that. And then for the finish, Luger made this big comeback, and the ref got taken, and he ended up hitting Yoko with the illegal bionic forearm, since he'd been in a motorcycle accident and there was metal in his forearm. So he hit him, and Yoko bumped outside. And I didn't notice this on first viewing many, many years ago, but I noticed it here in 2009, and because I kept my eye on Cornette, who's great. And at the time, it was almost like, what a dumb shit Luger is. And, of course, the announcers didn't do anything to clear that up either. But looking at it 15 years later, I think Cornette knew how stupid Luger was going to look. So after Yokozuna bumped outside, Cornette jumps up on the apron to distract Luger to stop him from going over and breaking up the count. Mm-hmm. So Luger goes and punches Cornette. Cornette takes a big bump. And by the time Luger is done dealing with Cornette, Yokozuna's been counted out. They announce Luger the winner. There's a giant celebration. The babyfaces come out. Vince is screaming that he has won. He is victorious. He has done the impossible. And then Bobby Heenan eventually goes, yeah, he didn't win the title. And then Vince is like, yeah, he didn't win the title, but he'll get it someday. And he's doing this big Vince McMahon thing, and I'd forgotten. There was some good stuff about Vince as an announcer because he knew the stories to tell because he wrote them.
Yeah.
And he knew how to get the stories across much better than, say, Michael fucking Cole nowadays. But there was a lot about Vince that of course, was horrible.
Very horrible.
Boy, did he ever, every fucking pinfall. I'd forgotten he got him! No, he didn't.
There was one, and it was late enough for the match, it was a very dramatic he got him, no, he didn't. I think he declared Lex the new champion when Lex had not won. And Heenan could take no more after working with this guy for 3 hours and screamed, "Watch what's happening!" Did not work. So then they go to the big finish, and Lex hits his clotheslines, he hits the big elbow, and Yoko takes this great bump for a big man through the ropes to the floor. Not below the ropes, through them. And he's laying there, and the place is going crazy, and the ref counts 1. The ref counts 2. And I heard a fan shout, "Come on, Lex, get him in the ring!" It was not to be.
There you go. That was the match. That was SummerSlam. And I don't know. Sometimes I think Vince should just sit down one of these days. It'll never happen. But watch some of these old shows.
Yeah.
And obviously, you cannot repeat 1993.
No,
for a million different reasons. But there are plenty of things you can learn from looking at these old shows.
Sure.
Like how to fucking make your world title seem like it's something important.
Yeah. I don't know if you try to do the Lex Yokozuna match on a pay-per-view in 2009, I don't know if it would work.
Well, why not? It wouldn't be the best match in the world, but Jesus Christ, Cena and we've seen
It was better than Hunter and Orton at Mania this year.
Yeah.
That is true. But it was not as good as, say, Jeff and Morrison on SmackDown.
We're seeing Cena and Orton again. I'm sure it'll probably be better than this match, but still. I'd rather see Yokozuna and Lex Luger this year than this fucking match for the 8,000th time, to be honest with you.
Every woman, every man, join the caravan of lives. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Everybody take a stand. Join the caravan of lives. Stand up, stand up, stand up. I'm your satchel ass.
It's Terry Funk thing in a cave now.
I think he might have moved to a manger or something like that.
The caravan of ass.
Yeah. We did not have a makeup show because the fucking Strikeforce conference call took 2 hours out of my life today. And for those of you that heard that, I'm sure you sympathize. For those of you that didn't, you're probably calling me lazy and that sort of thing, but all I have to say to you is fuck off. I've got a little song here that somebody has created, a best of the Strikeforce conference call today, and this is, by the way, the short version. He's got a 7-minute version up on the website, up on the board, for those of you that want to check that out if you are entertained by this short version here. But let's listen to the best of Strikeforce M1 the best of the M1 Strikeforce press conference from this afternoon.
The Strikeforce.
Another question for Theodore.
Ну, я думаю, что возраст здесь ни при чем. I don't think that
Card needs to be moved out of California. That licensing has not.
Vadim?
Вадима нет.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vadim is not here.
I'm becoming a licensed promoter in the United States, and if they do, why not?
Vadim, вы здесь? Vadim?
Francie.
Vadim?
Did we lose Scott, too?
Looks like we lost Scott, too. We're dialing back out to him, too.
Operator?
No, we have 408-230-0403.
Vadim?
Getting mixed signals here. So let's go to the next question.
What is this?
Loretta, you there?
And
Somebody has to shut their window. Something that was, and
That's the short version, everybody. That's the 1 minute 30-second version.
All I can think through that is...
I listened to that for a fucking hour!
All I can think is Fedor turned down UFC for these people.
Yes! Oh, my God.
Something is amiss.
An hour. More than an hour, actually. They started 10 minutes late and 15 minutes late and then ended late. Oh, today was a day. Let me tell you. So tonight we're going to watch some 24/7, and I was looking through what was available, and I saw like a Raw from 1998, and it said featuring Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, and I thought, this can't be bad. Let's just watch this. Thought it'd just be your typical Raw. Thought it might be the Raw leading up to the Royal Rumble, the casket match where Shawn nearly ended his career for 4 years. Thought it'd be something like that, and as it turns out, this is no exaggeration. This may have been like the most important wrestling TV show of all time.
That's a valid statement, valid claim.
I realize that sounds preposterous, but this was the show where they brought in Mike Tyson, and Steve Austin had a confrontation with him, and this turned everything around.
Yeah.
Now some will say that it turned everything around for the worst, in that it resulted ultimately in there being only one major wrestling promotion in the world, that being WWE. Everybody else died.
That still makes it important.
WCW went out of business and resulted in TNA. I mean, you can make all these arguments, but this show, and this show launched the angle that single-handedly resulted in WWE turning their business around to the point where Vince McMahon went public and became an evil, crazy billionaire. This launched the biggest boom in WWE history, and WWE, as we know it today, is as gigantic as it is, literally because of this fucking television show. I think that I'm trying to think of another show that would have been more important than this one. I don't even know what it would be. Maybe people would say the first Nitro, because it started the Monday Night Wars, and perhaps this show wouldn't have existed without the Monday Night Wars. I don't know. And then you could go back to, well, maybe the first Raw, because there had to be a Raw before a Nitro. But anyway, like, I guess people can post on the board or email or whatever if they've got a show that was a more important show historically in the history of wrestling.
I'm trying to think of like a Saturday night's main event where something awesome happened, but there's not really anything.
No, this was like this show. I mean, as far as like a money drawing angle, this was the biggest money drawing angle of all time.
That's hard to top, isn't it? It launched the career of the biggest star in history. Never
before in the history of this business was there an angle that ended up making the parent company worth $1 billion. So anyway, let's talk about this show.
Now, that being said, there's a lot of bad stuff on this show.
Oh, yeah.
It was not 2 hours of solid gold.
It did open with a Paul Bearer promo. Apparently, Kane and Undertaker had teased a friendship, but it was a swerve, of course. And so Kane had turned on his brother at the Royal Rumble, chokeslammed into a casket, Shawn Michaels won the match, and then they lit The Undertaker on fire. So this led to Bearer coming out and making fun of us like we were all Canadians, talking about how he'd swerved us and we never saw it coming. And, yeah. I don't know what people thought of this promo in 98, because nobody cared at all. But watching it in 2009, when the interviews are so fucking horrible, We need more guys like Paul Bearer.
That's for sure.
He was phenomenal.
That is definitely for sure. His delivery of this promo was great stuff. But I listened to it, and I vaguely recall the angle of Undertaker being put in a casket and the casket being on fire. They've probably done it a dozen times. But he's describing what they actually did, which was fool him, just for the sake of fooling him. And then, as he explained, they locked him in the casket. He said they locked it 3 times. They fastened 3 locks. And then Kane hit the casket with an X. Why?
Well,
you got in the box. You're in goal to light the box on fire and kill him.
Yeah, but he used an axe to break open the box a little bit so that the gasoline would get inside the box.
I see.
Yeah. I remember this vividly, all of this stuff. So, then the lights dimmed, Taker's music played, out came Druids, but of course Kane was in the casket.
And by the way, these are the clumsiest Druids ever. They were about to fall down just walking this casket down to the ring.
We had Hunter, Sean, and Chyna, the original and best DX. I don't care what anybody says. Hunter was European champ, Sean was world champ. Hunter buried Owen Hart, said perhaps he should go south as well, that being a reference to WCW. Sean had to be gizmoed out here. He was not on top of his game. And, of course, the night before he had destroyed his back in that match.
That is true.
So I'm sure he may have had a prescription for whatever he was taking.
Likely.
But they vowed to go find the Undertaker tonight.
I just like that this is D-Generation X, the 2 degenerates. And Sean was wearing like a buttoned-up shirt and like a college professor's jacket. It wasn't tweed, but it was similar.
Yeah.
He looked very mature for a degenerate.
Nation of Dama-fucking-Nation against DOA. The Godfather was here working as Kama Mustafa.
Supreme Fighting Machine.
A master
of martial arts.
I will say that even some of the guys that weren't all that good back then still had certain things that they did much better than guys nowadays. I mean, watching like Kama Mustafa hit the ropes and then thinking back to how Carlito, for example, hits the ropes, night and fucking day.
Well, and even guys like, Bryan Lee is not my idea of the world's best worker, but they all knew when to do stuff, and there's a sense of timing about when to break up pins, when to cut a guy off.
Yeah,
it was all, they were all really good at that kind of thing. And now every match compared to the show, everything just seems like a giant cluster.
This was shockingly decent. And then it broke down into a 6-way for the DQ. It was a lot longer than your average Raw match nowadays as well. And this was during the time where, it's the Monday Night Wars. You're not supposed to do long matches because people will change the channel. Well, the matches are significantly longer, except for the main events. And then we had a brawl. Rock, a shaved Mark Henry, Ken Shamrock, and Ahmed Johnson all ran in.
The highlight of this was Rock running down for this brawl to help his stable mates, help him beat up these bikers. He was in this brawl wearing the Intercontinental title. That was awesome.
This was around the time that Ken wrote Inside the Lion's Den and talked about how only losers take steroids. And he was just fucking jacked to the gills.
Well, he has lost before.
And it was, of course, the period where Frank Shamrock said that Ken was on every drug under the sun. I'm just reporting this, everybody. We had a Vince fucking Russo WWE magazine commercial.
Oh, yes.
He was Vic Venom, right. And he was going to shoot with us.
That's what he said.
I nearly vomited.
He said
I nearly vomited right there on my shoes.
He said he had all the dirt, and he swore, and it was censored, and that's supposed to make us want to buy it. And it was shot. It was actually a very, very lame ripoff of the old Dennis Leary MTV shots where he would say a sentence, but the sentence would be shot in 3 different camera shots, and he'd be squatting and then leaning as a dumpster and standing there. God, it was horrible.
Vince reminds me more of Timothy Leary, to be quite honest with you. Mark Mero and Sal Sincere, who actually ended up being Tom Brandi. Where is Tom Brandi today? He needs to be on Raw.
I could be wrong, but I swear I've seen his name in Indie Report still.
They had a remarkably decent little match, and then Mero hit a low blow as the ref was distracted, hit the TKO for the pin. Brandi took almost all of this match. It was like an amazing thing to watch. And Brock Lesnar's wife was down there.
Brock Lesnar's wife was there as a cameo appearance. And it should be noted, this show was in 1998, almost the new century. Sable still had giant, big 80s hair.
Yeah.
I had forgotten this.
She always has looked like a mom.
I guess so.
She was only like 26 during this show, and she looked like 40. hearse had arrived. DX went to see if Taker was in it. Instead, it was a bunch of rats. And they all jumped into the hearse with DX, and China was appalled.
This was awesome. The whole thing, just the idea that DX would try to surprise The Undertaker in this hearse. There would be rats in there for no reason. They all jumped in, and the camera cuts to China, and this had to be the highlight of her career at this moment. She just looked at the camera with this just look of
disdain.
Disdain. Thank you. That's the word. Disdain. And then she just shut the door. She wanted no part of this. She was, in hindsight, she was so great as, if you're pardon the term, the straight man.
Yeah, she was.
For the two goofballs.
That's why this DX was so great. You had two idiots and then the giant monster muscle woman who never really said anything. She just stood there and looked mean.
Yeah, no, and never smiled.
Yeah.
That's the other part. She just showed no reaction except occasionally just, as you say, disdain.
Actually, she would smile now and then when Sean, for example, took a salami and tried to shove it up her ass, and she looked at him and couldn't help but smirk at the idiocy of it.
We'll get to that later. Okay, she smiled occasionally, but right now she didn't, and that's what made it great.
The Quebecers, including Jacques Rougeau with a mullet in 1998, and they faced Mick Foley and Chainsaw Charlie, who was, of course, Terry Funk, and he was at his funkiest in this particular match.
Yeah? He's a crazy man.
Broke down into a four-way. Cactus Jack put a mandible claw on the ref. That was a DQ. Funk did a Vader bomb off the fucking mill rope to the outside on all three guys. Lafitte got backdropped into a cannonball on Foley. Foley got barbed wire and cleared the ring. And when it was over, I was like, what the fuck was the point of all this?
Great question.
I have no idea.
It's been 11 years, but I don't recall a big Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack versus Quebecers match. It may have happened. But yes, Jacques Rougeau out there with his bald eagle mullet in 1998. And it's an amazing sight to behold. And then they got the heat on Terry Funk. And as they're beating him and beating him and beating him, suddenly they just let him go. And he starts to walk toward his corner, and he's clearly going to make the tag. At the last second, he starts to walk in a circle and then just falls down.
Yeah.
A clown show. And he's supposed to be the babyface.
We had the NWA North American Championship match. Bradshaw against Jeff Jarrett. Amazing. Jarrett came out with Cornette and the Rock and Roll Express. Wyndham came out with Bradshaw. Nobody cared about the match. Wyndham accidentally hit Bradshaw with a clothesline, so Jarrett got the pin. And Bradshaw, of course, still kicked out at 3, because, he's Bradshaw. So then Wyndham turned on him after the match and joined the heels, and Ross screamed, "The NWA is going to get stronger, it appears."
He was mistaken.
Incorrect.
He was factually wrong.
And they were talking about how something happened at Royal Rumble, and they'd been discussing it the night before on America Online.
Old school.
That's what they said, America Online.
Yeah. That's the...
Not AOL.
No, America Online.
America Online.
Mm-hmm.
God, watching Raw in 10 years today is going to be just hilarious.
It is, but let it be known that we are 4 matches in the show. We've had 2 DQs, 1 nutshot finish, and this one, which had 3 guys from outside the ring interfering, because the Rock and Roll Express were interfering constantly.
Can you imagine in 10 years when we look back on Raw in 2009, and they're talking about Twitter? Trust me, everybody.
It's going to be funny.
It's going to be hilarious. So, we had DX looking for Taker backstage, and they saw a ghost. This was the first hour cliffhanger. So, in the second hour, lights went out. Taker's music played. Body lowered from the rafters, which was quite creepy in hindsight, I might add. So, got in the ring, spotlight on him, Taker's music playing, raises his arms, and then, of course, Sean's music hits. He does his striptease. And I just saw this like 4 months ago, by the way, in 2009. Anyway, Hunter came out with a shirt reading "Suck the Cook." I remember this skit vividly. I don't know what this says about me, but I remember it vividly. So, Sean, by the way, who claims he was never on the juice except for like very limited periods, was just jacked to the gills here. Bigger than Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
So, cuts his classic promo where he cannot help but look at the Titantron. And then Hunter cuts a promo on Owen, challenging him to a European title shot next week. Sean is busy making a penis with a hot dog and 2 marshmallows and sticking a salami in his pants and patting it vigorously here on Raw.
He was also walking around holding it in his hand on his hip, but such an angle when he turned aside to the camera, it was supposed to be his dong.
Yeah.
This is true juvenile stuff, and it was funny.
Ramming China's ass with it as well.
Yes.
And by the way, this was the biggest child's audience in the history of Raw, for those of you wondering. So anyway, Hunter buried Flair, which was hilarious.
He called him Space Mountain is old, broken down, and bleached blonde.
And the important thing here, everybody, which nobody writing Wrestling Now today has any fucking clue about, is they do all this comedy, they do all this goofiness, and then Sean fucking grabs the mic and he cut like a money promo. He said, everybody knows Steve Austin won the Royal Rumble last night, and he's going to WrestleMania to face me. And I know that Steve Austin is a former Intercontinental Champion. I know he's a former Tag Team Champion. I think he said a former European Champion. Anyway, he said the one mountain that Steve Austin has left to climb is the WWE Championship. And I, Shawn Michaels, own that mountain. He goes, you can ask anybody. You can ask any of the guys that I have faced. You can go back into the locker room, ask them all. You can go down south and ask everybody that I've sent packing. They'll all tell you the same thing, that Shawn Michaels lays down for nobody. By the way, I wrote none of that down. I remembered all of that.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was like, Shawn Michaels flat out said, I'm the fucking best. I don't give a fuck who you are. I beat everybody. I'm the best there is. And you're not going to beat me at WrestleMania, so fuck off.
Yeah, I've done everything this guy has done. Why are you all paying attention? And more. You should all be paying attention to me and not him.
This was outstanding. Mm-hmm. Outstanding. So there you go. Owen, Taka, and the Headbangers against Los Boricuas with the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, hindsight, why? Was he on commentary?
I don't know. Owen got the win with the sharpshooter. Solid little match. And
I believe that this is the only clean finish on the show, actually.
Yeah.
It broke down into a four-way, and then 6 of the men left, and Owen submitted a Puerto Rican with a sharpshooter. That was it. He got the hot tag, hit like 3 kicks, he got the move, and that was it.
By the way, there was a segment earlier with DX asking some of the mini luchadors if they'd seen Foley, and I didn't get a close look at all of them, but one or more of them may have been one of the 2 minis that was murdered a couple of months back. Because they did, in fact, I think at least one of them worked the Royal Rumble the night before, so they would have been at Raw. So that was kind of creepy. When you think of people, when you watch these shows back and go, how many people here are still alive, the minis are not high on the list of people you think would be among the dead ones. But they were. And actually, looking back at the show, a lot of people still alive.
I only count 2, and that's counting the mini we think was there.
Yeah.
And no one, obviously.
Rocky Maivia and Ahmed Johnson. Rock was a hell of an athlete. He was also bigger and nearly unrecognizable in many ways. Ahmed made a comeback. Mark Henry, who was 2 years into the business, still mistimed chair shot, behind the ref's back. Rock hit the Uranage for the pin. And then Davey Richards hit the ring and chased everyone away, and actually, it was Ken Shamrock, but you'd never have known the difference.
Oh, I think you would.
He ran in and acted all crazy. He looked exactly like Davey Richards.
He was very muscular. He had short brown hair. I can tell the difference between Ken Shamrock and Davey Richards.
Huh.
I'm just telling you.
Davey Richards was a better worker. Still is.
That actually is probably true.
Tyson had been meeting with people all night.
And by the way, another cheap finish, a chair shot finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, another shitty finish. Godwin's against the New Age Outlaws. Total slop fest.
What a show this was.
And that's not a Godwin's joke, by the way. Billy was off on fucking everything. Didn't even go upright for a doctor bomb in one of the biggest botch spots I've seen in a long time.
I don't even think it was supposed to be a doctor bomb. I think it was supposed to be a gut wrench suplex, and it nearly resulted in
It probably was.
death.
He tried to do a gut wrench, and Billy jumped the wrong way, which I don't even know how you fucking could possibly do that. And then
I'd have to watch it again. I thought it was Phineas' fault.
How could it be Phineas' fault? All he's got to do is lift if you're going to do a gut wrench suplex.
Because he's clumsy and he fell over.
He didn't fall over. He fell over because Billy Gunn jumped the wrong way. He cartwheeled in the wrong fucking direction. I was looking right at it. It was amazing. Anyway, he done Billy forever. Then Billy hit him with a stuffed pig for the win. Road Dogg never tagged in, and the stuffed pig was stuffed with a brick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I can guess which magazine editor this finish reeks of.
All of them.
Well, yes, but
Vince Russo.
Yes, because you need to hit with a pig. It should be a stuffed pig. Put a brick in there so at least it's believable.
At least, no, Russo wouldn't even put the brick in. He just hit him with the pig. He doesn't think about that shit. That shit don't matter.
Russo would use a live pig.
Vince, looking much younger, introduced Mike Tyson.
Many people, it has been a decade. It's been a hard decade for a lot of these men.
What a segment this was, looking back. Just so great. Vince introduces Tyson and says, who were some of your favorites growing up? And the first thing Tyson screams is, Bruno Sammartino!
And he meant it.
Yeah. And Vince is like, ha, 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 so, yes.
And you also like Don Leo Jonathan, he said.
Don Leo Jonathan. So anyway, Vince said, it's time for the big announcement.
And Tyson said, also, Nikolai Volkov.
Yeah.
One of his favorite wrestlers ever.
Sure. So Vince announces on March 29th at WrestleMania, and then suddenly Austin's music hit. A million geeks hit the ring to separate him, including a very heavy Shane McMahon. So Austin does the promo. He's sick and tired of seeing Tyson in there shaking everyone's hands, making friends with everyone. Tyson wants a handshake. Austin said he's not there to make friends. Said he respected what he did in boxing, but when Tyson stepped in the WWE ring, or the WWF ring, sorry, he was messing with Stone Cold, the baddest man in the world. Said he wanted a piece of Tyson's ass. Vince is appalled and disgusted. And anyway, he said he could beat Tyson any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Said in case you only understand sign language, here's some for you. He flipped him off. Tyson shoved him. All hell broke loose. A million geeks tackled Austin and held him down. Vince was going absolutely apeshit, screaming that Austin had ruined this. And we had Gerald Briscoe doing a shoot takedown on Steve Austin and acting like he was actually trying to restrain him. This whole thing was fabulous. Not that I needed to explain that. I think everybody knows.
I'm pretty sure we're aware.
Probably the biggest money angle in history.
It was the best part was just watching Austin's promo, because I know this again is not breaking news, but he was not just talking about how he was the toughest son of a bitch on the earth. You could tell he believed it. There was no doubt in his mind that he was the toughest son of a bitch on the earth, and he wanted to prove it. And it was a money promo. It was the right guy cutting the right promo with the right opponent at the right time, and it was history. Turn your volume back up.
Jesus, sorry about that. Yeah, it was quite great. And, it was, if you get a chance to watch this show on 24/7, you should watch it if you've never seen it before, because it is a historic show.
They put in clips of a bunch of people talking about how important this was, Cornette and Hunter, and they all said, yep, fighting Tyson was important. And the only really notable one was Eric Bischoff, who, of course, was not watching the show at the time. But he said, yeah, I saw in the paper that Mike Tyson was doing something with WWF, and I thought, that's pretty good. He cannot deny this is a wise thing.
Yeah. So there you go, the turning point for WWE right there that has made them what they are today, and that is the biggest wrestling company in the history of the universe, most likely. Unless there's wrestling on other planets.
Perhaps there's wrestling on Venus.
Who knows? Well, there's not on Venus, but you never know.
Who let the dogs out?
Roof, 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 roof.
Who let the dogs out?
Roof, 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 roof. Unacceptable. How do you pronounce it correctly, supposedly? Correctly.
I would say that you will be up on the rooftop.
Yeah, roof.
Is that how you're saying it?
Roof.
Because I've heard people, it's not the first time that this has come up.
Yeah, many times people have said that I don't know how to pronounce roof.
And I always think to myself, when the hell did Bryan even say that? Because
we were talking about Granny's porch and the roof.
Huh.
So how am I supposed to pronounce it? Roof? Roof?
Up on the roof?
Up on the roof? That sounds retarded.
You're an odd little man sometimes.
It's roof. What, rough? I'm going to go clean off the rough.
No, you wouldn't say that. You would say, I'm going to go.
I'm going to go clean off the
leaves off the roof.
The roof? That actually takes a lot of effort on my part to say roof. I have to, stick my neck out and make a giant ape-like pursing of my lips. Roof? It's roof. Okay? That's how you fucking say the word.
That's funny because I can't see you.
Not to mention the fact that it's pronounced Craig. Okay? How am I supposed to pronounce that? Craig?
I guess this is how
I widen my mouth really wide and flex my neck muscles like Randy Savage. Craig? Is I supposed to say Craig? It's Craig. Next time Craig is on the show, we'll say, hey, what's your name? And he'll say, Craig. That's how you fucking say it. All you Euros and geeks with goofy accents, quit fucking telling me I don't know how to say these words. We watched Monday Nitro.
What a terrible idea this was.
January 1998, opposite Tyson Austin. It opened with Eddie Guerrero against Rick the Model Martel. This was a real match.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie was a great heel. He was also enormous.
Yeah.
Martel was a great babyface. And then Martel beat Eddie Guerrero clean with a Boston Crab. And the place went apeshit when he did it.
Yes.
Right here I was thinking, this is better than Impact.
It was, well, my first thought when this match was announced and Martel came down, and I thought, Martel in his prime versus Guerrero in his prime would be an awesome little match. And they had this match, and for 4 minutes, it was pretty awesome.
Martel, when he came back to WCW, I don't know if people remember this, but he was fucking great.
Apparently.
He was awesome when he came back.
So, yes, they had this very fun match, and people were going crazy in the middle of it. And I thought, boy, they're really into this. And I looked, and they were really into getting on TV.
Of course.
And not like, they still are to a degree, but even by the end, like half hour into the show, they give it up on that. But there was something about the thrill of being on television, back before Facebook or YouTube or MySpace. That was the only way to get famous, was to be seen in the stands at Nitro. That's what they wanted.
Clips from Thunder. I started taking notes and then I gave up. We had Hogan destroying DDP's knee, Savage and Nash facing Luger 2-on-1. Savage and Nash couldn't get along. Hogan got involved. Giant came out, chokeslammed Hulk, an NWO beatdown. The people were going nuts, but it was fucking horrendous. I have no idea what was going on. Maybe it was just better in context.
It started off, and I thought, hey, look, they're doing a recap package. That's something that's never a bad idea. And then about 6 minutes in, my head was swimming, and I thought, I would have been better off not knowing what was going on here. Also, during this clip, they showed shots of Lex Luger in action. He looked horrible.
He was quite bad, in fact.
He did manage to very easily get Kevin Nash up in the torture rack. Other than that, horrible.
Hogan and Bischoff, looking amazingly young, came out and did a promo. This was only 10 years ago, by the way, and they both looked about 30 years younger. And Hogan did a promo claiming he was still the champion. He had a black bat that he was going to beat up anyone who disagreed with him with. He was talking about pinning Sting at Starrcade. That's right, Starrcade 1997, where the referee was supposed to do a fast count, and he counted normal. Sting was pinned. Bret Hart came out and demanded the match be restarted, which made no fucking sense. Sting won. It fucking put the brakes on Sting like you wouldn't believe. One of the early beginning of the end moments, and I'm actually going to talk about this more later because something else ties into it, but anyway, that was that. So he said he was going to prove he could beat the Giant tonight, and then when Sting had the balls to get in the ring and face him for his belt, once again he would get it back and pin him again 1, 2, 3. So Hogan was making a very big deal about how he did in fact pin Sting, and everybody saw it. Interesting.
Which is true. I had forgotten about Hulk Hogan's stupid black beard with the mustache. I also forgot about Eric Bischoff's sweet, sweet mullet. But other than that, this looks not too different from anything we'd see on a lot of shows today. It was a guy coming out and taking 5 minutes or more to say what could have been summed up in 30 seconds.
The Shat.
You've missed him, haven't you?
Been a long time since I had to say that. He faced Jerry Flynn.
What a show this was.
We got a front leg back kick reference from Shivani within moments. Flynn was wearing his black belt. The match was awesomely bad. They did fake MMA.
Yes.
It was horrible.
In 1998.
It was horrible.
They were doing very, very bad fake MMA in front of a crowd in which good MMA probably would not have gotten over either.
No. But this was like, anybody who watches MMA nowadays would watch this and just be howling with laughter at how bad this was. And then Shat won with a kick.
A flying kick, yes.
This sucked.
Larry was also sure to tell us that, there's all sorts of different martial arts disciplines out there, and they can teach you balance and discipline and athleticism, but at the end of the day, the wrestler's always going to win. So he would be a fan of, for example, Brock Lesnar.
Sure.
Or Matt Hughes.
Scott Hall did a promo, polled the fans, one more for the good guys. Then he cut a promo on Larry Zbyszko. You see, the next Saturday, not Sunday, everybody. Someone once asked the question, why are pay-per-views only on Sunday? Well, we had completely forgotten, but as recently as 10 years ago, WCW pay-per-views took place on Saturday nights. I can't even remember this.
I think it was just this one, because they made a reference to it being the night before the Super Bowl. And that's still UFC is doing well that night. But
would it have been the night before the Super Bowl? It would have been January 27th. The Super Bowl's on January 28th?
Back then, I think it was in January. It is usually played in mid-February now, but yeah.
Boy, so they had some bad planning here.
Indeed.
So anyway, they were going to do a Larry Zbyszko versus Scott Hall match at the fucking pay-per-view.
Right.
And Hall proceeded to bury Larry Zbyszko, saying he was the AWA champ because his father-in-law owned it. The place went out of business with him on top and all this other stuff. He was a shitty announcer and blah, blah, blah. Probably went over the heads of almost everybody there. Larry refused to back out, so the match was on.
I was stunned.
By the way, the commentators, Larry Zbyszko, Mike Tenay, and Tony Schiavone. Wow.
And then later, Larry tagged out and Bobby Heenan came in.
Yes.
But Larry Zbyszko, they did the first match and then they cut the announcer's desk so the guys could run down the show. I cannot believe the reaction Larry Zbyszko got.
Yeah, they always loved Larry. They chanted his name.
I had forgotten.
Yeah.
So I guess if he's getting this kind of reaction, why not put him in a match and see if people will buy it?
Steiner's against Bagwell and Conan. This was pre-Big Papa Pump. He had dark hair.
Although very, very pre.
He was, not very, very. I think he probably turned shortly after this because he was a heel this entire match.
He was a heel the entire match. He was fucking enormous.
Yeah. He was more mobile. He did a leapfrog.
Sure.
And
frankly, he looked utterly terrifying here because he was gigantic. He was not old and broken down. He was athletic and explosive and agile. And, of course, he knows how to wrestle.
Yeah.
So he beat the fuck out of these two guys, basically.
And then, actually, the story was that he never tagged in his brother. He worked the entire match by himself. He made his own comeback and pinned Conan, and Rick was mad. And then Scott walked off on his own, so they were teasing the breakup. I will say that all this stuff made sense, at least. Even not knowing what was going on, you could watch the match and figure out what was supposed to be going on.
Yeah.
You miss a week of Impact, and you have no idea what's going on ever.
Yeah. And the way it was, the way this was booked, you had one guy beating up two. It could be easy to see how that guy would come off as the babyface, but no. Scott Steiner here, while being terrifying and scary and beating up two men, was still clearly a dick. We were supposed to boo this man.
Gene Okerlund interviewed Andor the Gaint, as I recall him being called at this point. Or no, that was Andre the Giant. Anyway, this was Big Show, known as the Giant at the time. Vowed to chokeslam Hogan. Hall and Nash came out, or Hogan and Nash, and the story was Giant could not touch Nash until the pay-per-view or he'd be out $1.5 million. That's what they said.
Indeed.
So Nash taunted him, and then Savage ran down. Hogan told him to hit the bricks. Savage shoved Hogan. Hogan bonked into Nash. Nash bonked into Giant, and since Nash touched him first, that meant Giant could attack him. But then Nash threw coffee into his face. Hogan beat him up. Singh ran down to make the save. Laid out Hogan. Fans were literally jumping up and down. I am not making this up. They were jumping up and down with excitement. I guess whatever works, but
they were into the
very convoluted
at this point. Yes, there was a lot going on, but the bottom line was people, at least in this crowd, people still had faith in Sting as their Superman, who would save the company and drive away the evil offenders. He failed.
He did fail. Sean's wife was dancing with the Nitro girls, the one who looked completely lost. We had Mortis, who eventually would become Canyon, against Booker T. Booker was completely half-assing it here. Mortis went for a top rope Frankensteiner, got powerbombed right onto his fucking head and neck. Should have been the finish, but of course they had to do more moves.
Booker had to pull up so he could take a kick.
Yes, and a Harlem hangover for the pin. And then Wrath tried to attack Booker. Rick Martel made the save. And then Rick said, "Can I have a title shot on Saturday?" Yes, 5 days from now. Booker said, "Cleared with the committee," which is TNA management, and it was on. So it was on. There you go.
Booker T was one of, I mentioned this earlier, but Booker T was one of many guys in this show who are still wrestling but are much smaller now. It is funny how that works.
Buddy used to always get so mad at guys who would hit a move and then lift up their opponent to do another move. He was always like, why would you knock them down and then get them back up? When you knock them down and try to make a cover or attack them while they are down,
beat them up while they're down,
isn't it stupid to knock them down and then lift them back up to put them down again? We saw a lot of that in this match. Gene interviewed Flair, a great fucking promo, hyping up a match with Bret the Hitman Hart on Saturday. Then Brent came out, and they went back and forth about the pay-per-view, and it was just fucking great. I mean, when this was over, I wanted to see this match so badly. Far more than anything on SummerSlam this coming Sunday.
Sure.
If I recall correctly, the match wasn't all that great. Or maybe it was like a 4-star match. I forget.
One or the other.
Well, I seem to remember, like, what was it?
I think the story was they had a great program, and they had a great match.
That's right, and then they killed
forever.
it.
Yes.
That's right, that's what happened. That's right. So,
the gist of the promo was Ric Flair was sick of Bret Hart saying he was the best there was, or ever will be. Because after all, Ric Flair is the best, goddammit. So he wanted Bret to say that he was the best. Bret refused. He said, we'll see you this Saturday, we'll settle things, only one of us can be the best. Then when Rick gave him one more chance to say he was best, Bret wouldn't do it. Flair sold this.
Yeah.
This utter disrespect of him not saying best. It was all very simple. That being said, Ric Flair was the awesome one here.
He was.
Bret Hart was there.
Yeah. I think that is what happened. They had a really great match, and then they disappeared off TV immediately. We had Jericho and Ray clips from the week before, which looked awesome, and clips of Ray and Hoovy. Then we had Jericho and Hoovy, and this wasn't great. It was fine. And Jericho won with the Lion Tamer.
I wrote this was the best match in the show, but in hindsight, the Rick Martel match was better than this.
Yeah.
And I did note that while I inaccurately called it the best match in the show, I still noted nobody gives a shit.
No. Jericho refused to release hold afterwards, attacked Hoovy. Ray made the save. And then Ray and Hoovy teamed up and did a bunch of double teams on Jericho, and this was the best thing on the show.
Yeah.
This brief fray here.
Greatness.
Yeah, it really was. So, and then of course, Hoovy self-destructed.
Hoovy did what Hoovy does.
Yeah. The whole thing failed.
What can you do?
Scott Hall and Lex Luger.
This is not the best thing on the show.
I cannot even explain how bad this match was. This match was hideous. People have such fond memories of Nash and Hall and the Outsiders, forgetting all the horrible matches that Scott Hall had. He didn't do jack shit here. And didn't help that Luger was worse than he was when we watched him on that show from '89.
That is the honest-to-God truth.
Luger was so bad here. First Hall puts him in like a hole where you stretch your arms back behind you. And then he turns Luger to face away from the hard camera.
Yes. That was where I decided that in this match, at least, Scott Hall is worse than Luger.
I don't even know. I don't know. I couldn't tell if, like, he just didn't give a fuck or he was trying to rib people or what the deal was. But he's been in business how long? And you're facing the opposite? The hard camera was focused on his back and his ass. And the guy that he was putting the hold on was on the other side of him, so you could not see him.
At all.
This was mind-boggling.
I thought maybe he just wanted to show off his lats.
So he had this hold on for like 2 hours. Then they traded sleeper holds. Then Luger did a bunch of atomic drops that missed by at least, I swear to God, 12 inches. 12 to 16 inches. And this was not Luger's fault, because Luger was down on one knee and the other knee was up, and Scott Hall didn't even bend his legs to sit on the guy's knee. He just had his legs completely straight, so this came nowhere near his mangina. He sold it anyway, and then Luger went for the rack. Savage ran in for the DQ, at which point Bobby Heenan said, and I quote, "Of course. Way to go." And then Larry Zbyszko made the save. This was horrid.
This was a bad match.
So
it
awful.
Was, as I started to say earlier, the only way to keep your interest was to try to decide which of these men was actually the worst combatant. Luger looked horrible again, as he did in the earlier clips.
Luger, I'll just say this. The next match was Hulk Hogan and the Giant. That was also horrible, but this is all horrible in a different way. Hogan and the Giant was horrible because they just weren't any good. They're just bad wrestlers. They were trying, but Hogan was old. He was bad. Big Show was like in business for like, what was it, 3 years at this point?
4 years around
Still
there.
not very good. I mean, that was just a bad match because they weren't good workers. Luger was a horrible worker. That was his problem. Hall just was like, it was like he was trying to be bad. It was like he was not caring, even worse than like Booker T. Booker T didn't care, but he still did what he had to do. Scott Hall didn't care and was like purposely sabotaging this match. He was so bad. It was just wretched. Wretched. And then Hogan and the Giant, as noted, bad. Show beat him up for a while. Hogan got the heat.
I wrote that Giant beats him up forever, and then I thought about it and realized it's probably been about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
That's just all it could take.
Yeah. Hogan got the heat, then either a big boot, a slam, and a leg drop. And then, these are things I noticed like 10 years later. Hogan hits the leg drop of doom on the Giant. Now, I think what was supposed to happen was Randy Savage was supposed to run down, break up the pin, and then the Giant was going to go after Savage. So, of course, what happened was Hogan hits a leg drop. He goes for the cover. The ref counts 1. The ref counts 2. Here comes Savage. Late. Savage climbs up to the top rope. The ref just doesn't count the pin. The ref stops counting because Randy Savage has got on the ring apron and is climbing. So, anybody watching this knew that the Giant got pinned. The Giant was pinned by Hulk Hogan. Why? Because Randy Savage was too slow. So, looking back, in a 3-week period, you had a spot where the ref was supposed to fast count Sting, and then Sting was supposed to go on to win. But instead, the ref counted normally, so Sting got pinned clean. And then 3 weeks later, you've got another match where Hogan is supposed to go for a pin on the Giant. Savage breaks it up, so you don't know if Giant was going to get pinned or not. But no, Savage is too slow. So the Giant fucking gets pinned clean. 1, 2, 3. I just looked at it and was like, I call shenanigans on this.
Come on now.
I call shenanigans on this.
Stand-up individual like Hulk Hogan?
Hogan fucking greased the palms of, and I can't believe I'm saying this right now like it's not an angle, but this is real life. Hogan greased the palms of Nick fucking Patrick, and he greased the palms of Randy Savage so that these guys would fuck up, supposedly on accident, but it had to be on purpose. I mean, this was 2 things in the course of 3 weeks. How could this possibly be an accident?
It wasn't.
So anyway.
So, yes. The Hogan body slamming the Giant was cool. Giant press slamming Hogan from the floor over the ropes in the ring was cool.
Anyway, the point was, after Savage jumped up on a thing, he ended up, the ref stopped counting. Right. So his job was done, so he jumped off the apron and went down onto the floor again. So then, after the DQ, Randy Savage just crawls into the ring and starts selling to allow the Big Show to get him. What?
Well, yeah, I don't know what Savage was doing.
Well, he was trying to get in a position for where he was supposed to be, but he fucked it up either on purpose or on accident.
What happened was Giant took the leg drop of doom, laid there, got pinned, only not really, and then when Hogan got up to Savage, Giant stood up like everything was okay.
Yeah.
And then he grabbed Hogan and chokeslammed him and pinned him.
And then down from the rafters came Sting.
100 NWO dudes came out.
They were on the Superdome, so this was 27 stories. Yes. He descended from the rafters.
He came down a long way.
Super creepy in hindsight.
Yes.
And cleared the ring. The place went ape shit. Luger, Sting, and the Giant ended the show standing tall. And, wow. It's just, this was the period where Nitro was still very fucking hot. But it was very clear they were just fucking things up left and right. It had been obvious for about 8 months at this point. So, anyway, looking back at this show, wow.
All the guys on top were having shitty matches.
Yeah. And Scott Hall, what can be said?
Scott Hall was there.
Scott
Hogan
Hall
came
was
out,
horrible.
Did the same promo every week. It was just all the undercard guys giving no shot. It was, and the main event group being in pretty much every segment.
Yeah.
It all sounds very familiar.
All right, Super China Buffet Day. I'll start by reading the letter, and then we can talk more about it and why I got so angry. I wrote this actually I can find the exact time I wrote it. I wrote this fucking letter at 2:07 a.m. 2:07 a.m.
So, by this time, we had gone to Super China Buffet Day, gone to watch SummerSlam, you had driven back, then you had done the audio show, and you're still angry enough to write this.
Yes. Now, if this is not a well-written letter, I apologize. It was 2:07 a.m. I was very tired, but this is what I wrote. I was very upset with the service I got at iPanama Sunday night. I arranged for a large annual get-together with friends and chose Panama because I've eaten at Brazilian steakhouses before and always been happy with the experience. I was not happy here. I arranged for 14 people to show up, most of whom paid an average of $60 between food, tip, and drinks. That's at least $600 to $700 dropped on your restaurant in 1 2-hour period. Despite that, we had to ask on 4 to 5 different occasions for the waiters to bring meat to our table. There were periods of 10 minutes between appearances, more as the night wore on, and since there wasn't much meat placed onto our place in the first place, that was a good 10 minutes of sitting there looking around waiting to be served throughout the evening. This was a, quote, buffet, and we spent more time waiting around than eating. Meanwhile, the tables around us, with significantly fewer people, were getting visited every 5 minutes or so. I don't think we saw chicken legs until 90 minutes into our meal, and meanwhile other waiters had gone around to other tables with chicken legs several times. We arrived at 5 o'clock and left at 7 o'clock because we had another appointment to make, and several people were upset because Panama's billed as an all-you-can-eat restaurant, and they had not eaten close to all they could eat after 2 hours. Several noted they had not gotten water or drink refills for at least 30 minutes as well. Everyone left disappointed and agreeing that we didn't get nearly the value for our money that we were expecting and would not be returning in the future. It was very frustrating to me because I arranged the whole thing and because the food tastes great and I'd be happy to return if I had confidence that we'd actually be treated like customers who were paying close to $1,000 for dinner. That was my letter.
There you go.
Now, I can follow that up by saying that at the time, I felt a little bad because the food was, in fact, really good when we fucking got it. And I did throw in here that very fact because we agreed on the way back that the food was great.
Absolutely.
This is not like the first Super China Buffet day where the food was horrible. Food was actually very good. We just didn't fucking get enough of it. We did not get value for our money. However, as of today, I no longer feel bad. I have not gotten a response. I've not gotten a phone call. I've not got a return email. I've not got I'm sorry, nothing. They have blown me the fuck off. So, Panama, Ipanema, the Brazilian steakhouse in Seattle, I shall never visit again. I've visited them several times now. They've gotten hundreds of dollars from me and thousands of dollars between me and my friends over the last couple of years. They will never get another dime from me again, and hopefully none of the people that showed up will ever pay a dime to this establishment again. I was so upset. I was so pissed off. We just sat there, and they came around with their fucking swords, and they cut off tiny pieces of meat. By the end, they would cut off a tiny piece of meat, and I'd say, can I just get another one here? They'd give me another one. I'd have it eaten within 30 seconds, and then we just fucking sat there. Sat and waited. Now, by about 6:45, I'm thinking, fuck this place. Fuck this fucking restaurant. I am not leaving a tip. And I recommend nobody else here leave a tip either. So, of course, they bring us the bill, which has the gratuity added on, since it's a large party, so we can't fucking get out of it. So, we split it up. We put our cards out there. By the way, they couldn't split the check. They could not split the check, everybody. It was one check for everybody, and if anybody else had to use a card, we had to write our name and an amount on the back, at which point they went back and ran all the cards. So, they ran all the cards, and then, of course, they came back and said, you're still $60 short, which, ironically, was how much the tip was. Convenient. Of course, we had all chip in and pay the extra $60. So anyway, a poor dining experience. I was very disappointed. I cannot believe the amount of money we spent on Super China Buffet Day to basically get fucked out of all of our food. So, Ipanema Brazilian Steakhouse in Seattle, I recommend all of you that visit the Seattle area never to go there. If you live in Seattle, please tell your friends. Do not visit this place. You will get ripped off and fucked in the ass.
That's the downside of this day. And I agree with everything you said. But there are positives to this day as well. For instance, we got to meet some cool people. I think it was the first time I met West Destiny. First time I met Bloodsport.
First time I met Ed Tang's brother-in-law. A few other people who I'm sure I'm sadly forgetting their names, but they must have been sitting at the other end of the table. Not the first time I met Craig. Not the first time I met Brent. But point being, we all came together, and we all enjoyed each other's company, even if we were sort of angry at the restaurant. So then, as you know...
Sort of angry?
Irate? Furious?
I was furious.
Furious. Then, as you noted... We got ripped off. I ended up... I'm sure we all paid about the same amount, but I left like $70 on that restaurant. Plus, I had to pay for Craig's parking. It's another $10. So I certainly did not get $80 worth of sustenance from this.
If we could take this show on the road, I would drive to the grocery store right now and see how many pounds of flank steak I could buy for the $140 the two of us spent together.
That actually is a hell of an idea.
I could feed a fucking army with the amount of meat that I could buy for $140.
Last week, I bought 1 pound of steak for $3.
Yeah. I could get already marinated flank steak for, I could get, God, what would it probably be? I could probably get a good pound for $8.
That sounds about right.
And you know how fucking good that shit is on the grill?
Really good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we got ripped.
We did get ripped off, and I would like to say that it was great to see everybody.
Yes.
I have no complaints about the Super China Buffet Day itself.
No.
It was really great to meet everybody. Everybody was awesome, as they always are. But the meal itself...
The meal itself was bullshit.
The meal itself was bullshit, and the establishment was bullshit. And next year... You know what pissed me off, too? I'll tell you what pissed me off. Friday night, I went to the Olive Garden. And I sat down to eat, and they announced that, hey... We got a special, the all-you-can-eat pasta bowl. Thought to myself, I love the all-you-can-eat pasta bowl. The all-you-can-eat pasta bowl, I not only get my money's worth, it's $8.99, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
$8.99. Remember that day that we went and we got the all-you-can-eat pasta bowl and we had to, like, walk up the hill afterwards?
Oh, I do.
At about a 1-degrey slope.
Oh, I do.
And it took us 3 hours to make it up to the top of that thing and back.
That was the worst overeating I've ever done.
I think I'd have to agree that that's the most food. And for those of you that have ever been with me to a buffet, you know I can eat some food.
Mm-hmm.
This was the most food I've ever eaten in my life. I thought I was going to die. So I turned down the all-you-can-eat pasta bowl because I thought, I'm saving my all-you-can-eat for Sunday.
It is 48 hours, a little less.
God, do I feel like an idiot.
We
should have all fucking gone to Olive Garden. We could have all eaten. Probably for the amount that one of us paid for that fucking Brazilian barbecue. Oh. For sure what you and I paid to eat at that fucking Brazilian barbecue.
Yeah.
God, that just pissed me off.
So here's my final thought, though. I went home that night, and I looked on the board and checked out some of the other Super China Buffet threads. And I think it was the one in New England in particular, where people who had never met gathered with strangers. Really, they knew each other from the board, but they never met in person, and they were nervous about how they would fit in. They didn't know if they would be accepted. They didn't know if they would mesh, and they met for this meal, and they had a great time, and they became friends, and they said, we should do this again, and they began planning other journeys. And I thought, okay, I feel better about the holiday now. Super China Buffet Day is still a great holiday. This will go down as a poor Super China Buffet Day, but I'm going to chalk it up as a learning experience. I'm going to come out of it a better and wiser man. I'm going to make sure that one way or another, next year goes better.
We wouldn't even have to have gone to a fucking buffet. We could have gone to any restaurant and spent $70 on food.
And gotten all we could eat.
Just been stuffed. Can you imagine going and spending $70 on Claim Jumper, for Christ's sake?
Oh, my God.
Somebody would have...
I've spent $15 at Claim Jumper and I get my fill. What are you doing?
Fucking mouse stopped working.
No.
Yeah, so next year we will not fail. Next year, Seattle Super China Buffet Day, I don't even give a fuck how. Even if we have to go to Mrs. Fields and spend $70 on cookies, I'm cool with that idea.
We should do it at the mall food court.
Hey, I'd be fine with that. If everybody showed up with the $70 that they showed up for this fucking Brazilian barbecue,
you will get your fill.
Ate everything they could eat at the mall, I guarantee everybody would have a wonderful time.
In fact, that should be the goal. Get one entree from every store there and eat it.
Fucking there's pizza, there's Taco Time.
Pretzels.
Panda Express. There's a bunch of sub shops.
Yes,
there's
cheesesteaks. Chinese food, you said that one?
God, it'd be
great. Is Kid Valley still there?
What the fuck is wrong with my mouth?
Uh-oh.
don't think Kid Valley's delivered.
Oh, that's too bad. They have good hamburgers.
Stupid fucking mouse is driving me crazy. Let's try, I don't think we've played this one. An APA remix of Humbled?
From Poder Inc., the people who brought you Warriors...
How about this? That was incredibly annoying.
That was a vast improvement over the Justin Timberlake song.
Hello? I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello? I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello? I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello? I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello? 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 Hello?
God, we got to get Granny on the show. I should have got her on tonight.
Why is that?
Jesus. She's building a porch.
Still?
As everybody is well aware. Well, I shouldn't even say that. I think she'd kill me if I put the picture up.
Uh-oh. Things are not going well?
Well, she's got a porch right outside her front door. You know, there's like 3 steps. It's a porch. And it's got like a... and then there's like... You don't want to get rained on, so she's got a roof. You know, like there's something that attaches to the roof. And then there's like a wall next to the porch.
Just point out, it's rained about a half hour the past month.
Sure. But I mean, it's always had this. There's like the porch.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, so you walk up the porch, and there's the door, and behind you is like a lattice wall, and then there's a kind of an angled roof that hooks to the actual real roof. So she's taking this porch apart, and I don't know. I don't know what she did. All I know is that the lattice and the part that attaches to the roof. Apparently, the part that attaches to the roof does not attach to the roof. So, when she took the porch part out, the entire thing began to tip over, heading towards her car.
I see.
The only reason it did not crash and destroy her car is she has a hanging flower basket. And the part that attaches to the roof hooked on that flower basket, and that prevented it from falling all the way down.
I see.
So, now picture this. There's a giant lattice wall that has tipped over. It is now diagonal away from the house and the porch. It is hanging on by a thread that is hooked to a flower pot that is hanging from a gutter. So Granny decides, well, first off, she's got to move her car. So she walks under it. Good one. Backs the car up. I don't know why, but she doesn't want the entire lattice thing to fall down. Maybe she's going to reuse it. So she then proceeds to get a bunch of boards, and somehow she lifted these giant boards up against the leaning lattice to hold the lattice up.
I see.
There is no porch to get into her front door, so she has a ladder set up there. I go over today and I see this. And I immediately took a photograph of it. It now shows up on my phone every time she calls. This ridiculous mess that has been created. And she's explaining all of this to me. And I'm like, Granny, why are you doing this? You are 80. And you know what she says? Not 80 yet. Yeah. So, apparently, somebody's coming over to try to fix this mess on Wednesday. Hopefully, she has another way to get out of the house, besides this ladder. Hopefully, the lattice thing does not fall over on, say, the cat. Hopefully, she doesn't do more walking under the lattice before Wednesday. So, anyway, that's the story. Granny, I'm sure, is listening to this. If she gives me the okay, maybe I'll put the photograph up on the website right now so you can all see this. It's amazing. It's incredible. So we're going to have her on to talk about this on Thursday and get the latest. But I just saw this and was like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. Granny returns to the show today. Granny, how you doing?
Are you there?
Are you drinking?
Can you hear us?
No.
You can't hear us.
I'm hearing you.
She's not drinking.
Oh, this show is off to a great start. Granny, I told everybody on Tuesday about your porch debacle.
I heard you a while ago, and I sat here and laughed so hard I couldn't hardly stand it. What I want you to do is I want you to put the picture on there so that I can print it out because I forgot to take a picture of it.
So it's fixed now, you say?
Well, it's better now because Don came over and I can actually go out my door and go down some steps.
Now, why don't you briefly explain to everybody what happened so they know that I was not lying?
Well, I took it apart, and it had like a lattice thing that was set next to it for screening, because we used to have a neighbor that was so nosy, so we had to put a screen up there for privacy, and I thought it was hooked to the house. There's the plastic that comes down, and so after I took the whole porch apart, it kind of wasn't set and level, so I kind of gave it a little push, and it started to fall over.
Good one.
Yeah, and the car was right there. I mean, if it would have fell over, it would have landed right on the car.
Yeah.
And so I just pushed it over, pushed it away from the car. It was going okay. And it hooked onto a basket that was hanging off the...
a planter box.
Planter box, yeah, with plants in it. And it hooked onto that, and just that's what held it up.
I do have a photo. I will put it on the board in this thread so that everybody can bear witness to them with their own eyes. What complete destruction you created. And now, so Don came over on Wednesday and made he put up steps for you?
He did it this morning.
Okay. So now, what's the status of the actual porch?
Well, now it's 3 feet wide and 10 feet long, and it's got nice long steps and
So he made the whole porch. The porch is done.
No, it's not completely done. He has he's going to come back over tomorrow and put on the other steps. One side of the steps is on, but the other side isn't on yet.
So now the lattice is going to be gone because the neighbors are no longer...
No.
Oh.
If it had fell over, it would have probably broke into a million pieces, but no, he just came over and laid it down, and I'm going to clean it up, and it's going to go back up.
Granny just doesn't quit.
Well,
so
there's no sense in quitting.
I guess not, Granny. So the porch is on its way. Now we're going to get an after picture, I presume, once the porch is done.
I think so.
All right. Well, that's good then. All right. Well, now that that's all squared away and you haven't fallen to your death yet, we're trying to go down that ladder that you had in front of the door.
Well, I actually went out the patio door.
Yes, I hear. And, of course, you went out the patio door and had to walk underneath the leaning lattice.
No.
Now, how did you keep the lattice from falling? Tell that part of the story when it was hanging from the flower box.
I just pried it up with a long board.
You did this yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, Granny.
Well, I knew after it was hanging on the basket, or, hanging from the basket like that it wasn't going to fall over.
Oh, sure. There's just a wire holding the basket up. which is now holding an entire lattice wall. Granny, you got to be careful. Come on now.
Listen, I've gotten enough lectures out of guys. Knock it off.
What other lecture did you get from a guy of late?
I just got one from my daughter tonight. She said her and Nikki got together, and they're going to get after me if I do it again.
How dare they get after you?
Don't you hate when people care about you?
It's ridiculous. Granny,
well, I don't see anybody coming over and doing it for me.
Well, that's also true.
Granny, are you kidding me? Don came over today, and we even admitted that if I would have tried to put that thing together, it would have fallen on your car.
Someone would have died.
Yeah.
Probably would have.
Yeah. You know this, Granny, but you could still ask people for assistance on certain things, like taking a porch apart. I can take things apart, though, Granny. Let me tell you that. I can take things apart.
It was fun.
I just can't put it together. That's the difference here.
I had fun tearing it apart.
All right. Well, there you go, then.
Okay.
All right. Do we have some questions this week?
Well, we didn't hardly get any, but I have a couple of things.
Okay. Did you put a thread up for questions?
I want somebody to start a contest on there to see how long it's going to take you to get those pictures that somebody sent to me.
Oh, yeah. They'll be there soon. Don't fret.
I'm looking at them right now.
Will you do that?
I'm sorry?
Put it on the internet and see. Have people guess how long it's going to take Bryan to bring those pictures to me that people send me.
Well,
I will see what I can do.
I'll try and do it this weekend, Granny. I'll do my best.
Okay, and I have another thing, too. Sylvia's coming to Vegas with us next year.
That's great news.
Hold on a second. What?
Sylvia said she's coming to Vegas next year with us.
Did you tell her about the trip?
Well, I wanted her to go last time, but she wouldn't go because of the cat. She has got a cat.
And I thought Sylvia was, like, gravely ill the last time we talked to you.
She's fine now. You know what we did yesterday? We went over to Lowe's.
So she basically had the flu.
No, she had some other stuff wrong with her.
Okay, all right. But she's better now.
Yeah, well,
right.
You know, she fell off a ladder and cracked her shoulder.
But we shouldn't be concerned about you climbing up and down ladders to get in your house.
Well, she was kind of careless, too, because she stood on one of those small ladders and was washing the top of her car, and the ladder fell over.
Why are you old people always doing such crazy things?
Because we're old.
All right.
Got you there.
That settles it. All right, so go on.
Another thing, she wants to know what happened.
But you were telling her what you guys were doing. You guys did something recently.
Oh, wait a minute. We went over to Lowe's, and we bought all the lumber, and there was a real nice fellow there that cut the boards to size.
Wow.
Yep. I needed a bunch of 3-footers, and he cut them all up for us.
What a friendly guy.
Yeah, he was a really neat.
Okay. So now what's your next question here about Sylvia? She said something.
She wants to know where the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels are.
Shawn Michaels is at home. He never wants to come back, according to Raw. But he will be back at the summer... Tell her he'll be back at the Summer Fest.
Okay, but he's retired?
No, he's coming back at the Summer Fest.
Oh, okay, but you said he was home and didn't ever want to come back.
That's what he said on TV, but they were joking.
Okay, and how about the Undertaker?
The Undertaker is going to be back in September.
Not till September, huh?
Well, that's next month.
Oh, that's right. Oh, time is going so fast.
Time
flies. Not the fastest year ever.
Time flies when you're building porches.
Time flies when it's almost my birthday.
Now, Granny, now we did take care of you in Vegas, as I like to mention on every single show. So now we're going to take care of you and Sylvia?
We can take care of ourselves.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure here, Granny.
Yeah.
Just making sure. I don't know if I want, like, the whole, next year maybe the entire senior center is going to want to come to Vegas for the convention.
No, I don't think so.
And play pool or something.
Well, talking about playing pool, Wednesday we went to play pool, and there were 4 guys playing there, and I guess they got a little irritated because Sylvia and I were chatting back and forth, so the guy said, "Would you girls hold it down?" Well, we got a little bit quiet, and then just before we got ready to leave, the guy said, "Well, you're supposed to clean off the table," and Sylvia said, "Well, we weren't done yet." So we got into kind of an argument back and forth. He said something about, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have called you ladies or something," and I said, "And you guys aren't gentlemen either." And I said, "We got a right to be here just as much as you do." And so we went out the door, and I just turned around and shut off the lights for a minute and turned it back on.
Jesus! They could have started swinging pool cues at you.
I don't care.
Are you 80 or 8?
It just goes to show how stupid men are.
Huh.
Okay, and a question somebody had, do I really like you?
Me?
Yeah, they said, do you
Apparently
really like
not.
Bryan? Well, I've got down here, I really love you, but tonight when I listened to your show, and you were using such foul language, I was
here we
thinking,
go.
and I'm your favorite, most, I like to listen to your shows. In fact, I almost listen to 2 of them a night.
You almost do.
And then I listen to all that garbage.
Well, Granny, men suck. There's the answer to your question.
I guess so. Anyway, and another one was, what is hurling? I think this was from Ireland or someplace.
It's a Irish or Scottish sport, but they basically throw telephone poles around.
I thought it was vomiting.
Hurling, Hurling.
Yeah, just when you vomit. What's the question?
I never heard of that.
All right, well, what's the question?
The question was, do I know anything about hurling?
I'm pretty sure they mean the sport.
Yeah, it's a sport.
Okay, so the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Okay. All right.
I don't have anything else.
What more do you need, though?
We're gonna have a short chat here, huh?
No, Granny, sometimes it doesn't need to be long to be great.
I think though you should have Mr. Reynolds on again. I haven't heard from him for a long time.
Mr. Reynolds.
He's one of my best friends.
Mr. Reynolds.
RD.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Reynolds actually emailed me tonight, in fact, so I will answer and say that Granny requests Mr. Reynolds return to the show.
Yeah.
He once bought me dinner. It was a giant piece of meat with a huge bone sticking out of it, like a Flintstones would get.
How about that? Have you ever talked to Mr. Reynolds, Granny?
I don't remember if I have or not, but no, we kind of emailed back and forth, and then when I had the real problem with my teeth, he sent me some flowers.
Really?
Not flowers, candy.
I didn't know that.
At Christmas time.
Having problems with your teeth, so he sent you candy. See, he said, that sounds like a jerk to me.
It was soft candy. I could munch it.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Well, we'll get Mr. Reynolds back on the show for you, Granny, and we'll chit-chat.
That sounds great.
He doesn't like to use any profanity. He's a true gentleman.
He's a nice Midwestern boy.
Better than you.
Oh, breaks my heart. All right, Granny. Well, next week we'll be back, I think. We'll let you know.
Okay, be sure and put that picture up because I want to print it out.
You want the world to know what you've done. Okay, we'll make sure to do that.
Okay, and then I don't know when I'll have it finished, but when I do, I'll give you a picture of it.
Okay, well, I'll come over and take my own picture.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Oh, good.
All right.
It won't be done this Wednesday because we're going to put it off for a few days to finish it up. He's going to finish the steps in the morning so I can go in and out, but he has a few things to do, so we're going to lay off for a couple days.
All right, well, that sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan, Granny.
I will plan accordingly.
All right, so...
And, hey, what about music in the park? I ain't coming.
I'm not going tomorrow anyway.
Okay, that's good to know.
All right, I told you that last week, too, I think.
No. Last week you said you were coming, and you were going to bring the picture.
All right,
And I went over there.
All right. I screwed up. I apologize.
I tried to call you, and I tried to call your mom, and nobody answered the phone, so I thought, that's it.
Yeah, things happen. Sorry about that, Granny. Maybe the week after. Actually, I'll be gone the week after. Maybe the week after that.
And then it'll be over.
Well, I'm never going to go then.
I guess not.
Glad we got that handled.
Well, Brian's got a birthday, or Wayne's got a birthday coming.
I did
Crazy
not.
Wayne.
I'll make sure to send him something.
Yeah, he's going to come up on Wednesday morning, and I'm going to take him to Denny's for breakfast.
Maybe I'll meet you guys at Denny's.
Hey, you do that. We'll be there at 9 o'clock at the one in by Canyon
9 o'clock? We'll see what happens.
Oh, that would be great if you could come, Brian. I give up. I know you ain't going to be there.
This is my grandma, everybody.
Well, I know you won't be there.
All right, Granny, we'll discuss this. If I'm around, I'll try and make it.
That sounds good.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We should have a poll. Who was the craziest on this show, Granny or Brent?
She was in rare form.
She always is in rare form, so it's not rare form. She was in form.
In common form, in typical form?
Granny.
Yes?
Didn't you get my email that I just sent saying we were going to call you soon?
Well, I usually don't go into that email because I usually don't look at Comcast that much, and that's where you send it.
Must you have multiple emails?
I have Comcast and Yahoo.
Yahoo, you say?
Yahoo.
So,
am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Granny, how's the deal that covers your house?
The what?
The deal that covers your house.
Technical term.
Oh, just fine. Why?
You know, the thing that keeps the rain from coming in?
Oh, yeah, it's just fine. You saw it on Tuesday. Nikki and Val came over and helped me put it up. I built the thing up that goes over it, but I needed to have somebody help me set it up.
Now, that thing that goes over it, what is it attached to?
Right now, not too much.
Well, what should it attach to?
Well, I'm going to have my brother come up and attach it, but right now it's kind of just sitting there.
Well, what is it supposed to attach to?
Well, to the house for one thing, but there was...
I mean, what part of the house is it supposed to attach to?
Above the door.
Where above the door? Just anywhere?
Well, you know, it's, let's see, 10 feet long.
Sure.
And also, it attaches to the top of the screen that comes up.
What's at the top of the screen that's attached to the...
To the porch.
Okay, now that we've got all that handled...
Questions.
I'm just wondering...
That's a great question, actually.
I'm just wondering how everything is attached to the house, you know, and the thing on top of the house with all the shingles on it.
Oh, it isn't shingles, it's plastic.
Okay. All right. What else is new, Granny? I give up.
Now you got me so confused. I want to ask Vinny a question. Are you really working for ESPN?
Working for ESPN would be too strong. I wrote something for ESPN's website.
Oh, is it a regular job or?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
I agree. But
at least it pays for the thing over his head.
It is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean, Granny?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that saying? Food on the table and something over your head?
I can't remember.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take much.
No, I guess not.
All right, so anyway, you got the porch fixed, Granny. I'm going to put a picture up on the website.
Well, I did make a mistake, though. I'm going to put railing on, but somebody was giving me some advice, and it was wrong, so I went and bought...
So you were on the board?
No, it's a relative.
Oh.
Anyway,
she actually communicates with human beings, Brian.
I see.
I bought some hemlock, and...
Hemlock?
Hemlock.
Is
that killed Socrates
to kill himself?
Yeah.
And I couldn't even get a nail to go through it. It bent, so I had to go get some cedar, because you can... cedar is softer and the nails go through better.
You're going to make a deck out of hemlock?
No, I was going to put the railing out of hemlock.
Oh, the railing is going to be made out of hemlock.
No, it's not now because I can't get a nail to go through it.
Okay, but you were going to make a railing out of hemlock.
Yes, I was. Okay, let's go on.
All right. I don't suppose we have any questions here.
Well, I have some, but let's talk about Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, that's right. Chuck Liddell. Thank God you're here, Granny. Chuck Liddell is going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Well, and what happened to Kurt Angle? Sylvie was all excited about him being on.
Well, he wasn't really, I don't think, going to be on. I think this was all just, maybe he was, I don't know. But Kurt Angle tells a lot of lies.
Oh, well, and then that Paula Abdul that was on that one show.
Sure, American Idol.
Yeah, they're talking about they wanted to get her to be on there. I don't know if they're going to, but they have their 16 people. So let's see, there's Chuck Liddell, he's a light heavyweight champion, and then there's Donny Osmond. God, get rid of those Osmonds.
Granny making friends in Utah right now.
Yeah.
And let me see, there was another fighter or something.
Oh, there's a fake martial arts guy. I forget his name.
There's an ex-NFL wide receiver.
Really?
Oh, Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was another one. And then also they have the Osbourne you know, those Osbournes that are all nothing but a bunch of drugs.
Yeah, I know those Osbournes. Heard of them.
The daughter's going to be dancing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Too bad they can't get Ozzy.
Oh, are you kidding? He'd fall on his head.
Well, it's comedy.
I can't believe when he's on the air, you can't understand a word he says. He's so out of it.
No, you can't.
He's also English.
That's true.
It's not because of his English either. It's because he's got taken so many drugs.
Yeah, Vince, you idiot.
He may have taken a drug or two in his life, I suppose it's possible.
Okay, go on, Granny.
Okay, and then there's another one, Tom DeLay, the politician that
That's right, yeah.
I forget what he did, but wasn't good.
It's every politician, Granny.
That's true. That is true.
Oh, yeah.
And remember George Hamilton?
Yeah?
His son's going to be on.
And his son is famous for being the son of George Hamilton?
I guess so. It says, Ashley Hamilton, actor, comedian, and son of season's second George Hamilton.
Oh, wow, okay.
Actor, comedian, and son.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are just like movie stars. And
just a bunch of geeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, Granny. Well, you'll watch that show, and I hope you enjoy it, and it doesn't drive you crazy like that one season and have you jump off the top of your house.
Well, you know, they're supposed to have a real good, they claim it's going to be a really good show this year, so we'll see.
Well, how would they know that?
I don't know. They had
predictions?
He was on America or whatever the other day, and they were talking about how they were going to have a much better show this year, so we'll see.
Well, we'll take their word for it, Granny. That'll be good. What were your questions you had?
Well, let's see. I have one that says, is Vince a bad influence on Bryan?
Of course.
Of course not.
His laziness and sloth.
Of course not. You're a bad influence on him because you use bad language.
Oh, and Vince never used bad language before I came along?
Not towards your grandmother,
I never heard him say anything.
That's right.
Ridiculous.
Well, another thing they said, if you and RD were falling off a cliff and I only had one rope, which one would I save?
Keep the rope.
No, I cut it in two and save you both.
Granny's a thinker. What if the rope wasn't long enough after you cut it in half and we both died?
Well, that's the chance I'd have to take, I guess.
I guess so. What if we both fell off the top of your house?
Well, then you'd land on the cement.
True.
From the...
Go on.
Another one was, have I ever been
not
high?
Happening.
Have you ever what?
Have I ever been high?
And?
IGH, and I'm always high on life.
I knew that one was coming.
Yeah.
Granny knows her stuff here.
Well, let's see, what else was there?
Has Ed asked about marijuana yet?
Yeah.
I figured. How did I know that?
I want to have another question. What happened to Buddy? I heard something about him getting hurt or something.
Oh, he got a concussion in the ring. He's going to be on the show next week, and we'll chit-chat about it.
Oh.
Is he going to name the person responsible?
He might. We shall see.
Who's responsible?
One of his students gave him some sort of maneuver, I believe.
Uh-oh.
And you got to be careful.
That's not good. Oh, another one asked me if I ever got my granny's sex shirt.
What?
No, I don't think you did, Granny. I never got it.
I would have liked to have that.
Yeah, and Ted McNailer's no longer with Derby City, so I'll have to track him down.
Oh, I heard some rumors about... I thought you guys were talking something about him.
About Ted McNailer?
Going over the deep end or something?
Confusing Ted McNailer and Larry Sweeney?
It may have been another guy. I think you're confusing another one of my regular opponents. Larry Sweeney had some problems, but he's also back to normal.
That's the one I was talking about.
That's right, yeah.
He's okay?
He's okay now.
Okay, and we're going to talk about Super China Day, too.
No, that's right. We weren't actually, but I see you brought it up, so what do you want to say?
Well, I want to say that we're having it at the Senior Center.
Really?
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me.
Now, who is we?
We're having Happy Super China Day at the Senior Center.
And tell me a little more about this.
Everybody just brings a salad, and it's for free.
Wow. And you've got some friends that are going to be coming along to this?
All of them that are there.
Wow. Hey. And they know that this is Super China Buffet Day?
No.
Well, you have to educate them.
Yeah, you have to tell them about this great holiday.
Granny, at this point, you are now our disciple.
Sure.
Spreading our gospel to your friends.
I might just walk in and have a sign on me or something.
Well,
awesome.
these are old people. And
a reader board with great big letters, Super China Buffet Day.
Sure. A sandwich board, Granny.
Indeed, yeah, sandwich board.
Yeah. Is that what they call them?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Granny, that's about it. But we're going to put that picture up of your new deck and the accompanying thingamajigger that's attached to the thingamajigger. So I'll put that up as well.
Well, then next week, then you come, the railing will be up.
And the railing will be up next week.
The non-hemlock railing.
That's right.
Maybe you just needed better nails, Granny. Couldn't you use like titanium nails and get through that hemlock?
That wood was so hard that the nail just kind of bent.
Well, maybe you need to learn how to hammer a nail. I could teach you.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Brian's...
I'm good at drilling.
I can't even lie. Brian's not good at tools.
Oh, come on now. I actually have a tool kit here in the closet, actually, in case something breaks.
You probably got it for Christmas, and it's been sitting unopened for 3 years.
I've opened it. It's covered with a little dust, but... All right, Granny. Well, I want you to have a happy Super China Buffet Day this Sunday, and take some photos so we can post some of those on the board.
Okay, I'll do that.
Take some pictures and email them to me, and I'll get them up on the board.
What, you mean of our
Yeah,
our
of your Super China Buffet Day dinner.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. Really, I will.
Take some of you and Sylvia and email them to me, and I'll put them up on the board in the Super China Buffet Day section.
Oh, okay.
All right, that'll be the plan then.
Okay.
All right, have fun.
All righty.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All that work, I couldn't get it out of her.
I was trying to think of a way to work it in. I asked her, what's above your floor?
Just wasn't happening.
And she probably would have said ceiling.
I cannot believe that we couldn't get it out of her even one time.
I can.
We'll try again next week. I refuse to quit. Granny.
Yeah?
Thank God we were able to get a hold of you.
Well, yeah. You know you're getting later every week. Maybe you should call me first and then do your ranting and raving.
I just told him it was too late to call you.
Granny, we just started the show. You're the first guest every week.
Well, yeah, but you rant and rave for about 10 or 15 minutes before you call me.
Granny, we're 2 minutes into the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
was going to rant and rave, but I called you. And I also sent you an email telling you we'd be a little bit late because we had some, I had to do a breaking news audio with Dave.
What's that?
Exactly. Now, Granny, this new phone doesn't sound very good.
Well, I can't help it. It's your mom's.
What happened?
I decided to give mine a bath.
You decided to give your phone a bath?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well, everybody's always saying, when you're working outside, be sure you have your phone with you. So I went and bought an old pair of jeans that had deep pockets in them, and I went out and I was working out there, and I came in and I was really tired, and so I took them off and I was going to get ready to take a shower. So I thought, well, these pants are dirty. I'll just wash them.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I threw them in there, and all of a sudden it hit me, and it was too late.
Yeah.
Did you hear as it was going around?
No.
Did your washing machine start to ring?
And well, it fell out of the pocket. I looked in there, and it wasn't in the pocket, and I thought, oh, goody, I've got it somewhere in the house. And it had fallen out, and then when I took it out, it started kind of vibrating like it was having convulsions.
A death spasm.
It was the death rattle of your phone.
And it just kept doing it until I finally took it over to Nikki's, and she took the battery out, and then
like
she dried it out for a couple of days, but it didn't help.
They dried it out for a couple of days. It didn't help?
Nope.
I suggested you just take it out of the washer and put it in the dryer. Why not?
Nikki tried that once.
And how did that go?
She put it in the washer and the dryer, and it was gone.
So it shrunk?
Oh, yeah, right. And Val, she dropped hers in a hot cup of coffee.
What is with you women and phones?
Well, I never had any problem before until everybody said, take it outside with you. I said, from now on, I don't care if I cut off my arm, I'm not taking it outside.
Good for you.
I have a certain lady friend who has a BlackBerry, and she had to get one of those giant rubber casings to go around it because she always drops her phone. You know how many times I've dropped my phone in my entire life?
Ever?
Never. Never.
That's because you're constantly on it, Brian. I mean, it never leaves your hand.
So I should be dropping it regularly.
Well, okay, let's, I want to...
I gotta do one more thing. I've got an iPhone with a glass face. The face is made of glass, not even plastic. Never dropped that thing. Not a single time. Yeah. Now, what's the status of the phone? Are you getting a new one?
I think Tony's supposed to be taking care of it, so I don't know.
So you might get it by 2012?
I might be out of the phone for a long, long time. I don't know.
We know how that Tony is.
Yeah, I know. He's pretty slow. I wanted to talk to you about your dinner.
About my... Oh, Super China Buffet Day.
Yeah, I actually was gloating a little bit over your catastrophe.
How wonderful of you, Granny.
Well, because if you'd have went somewhere else, I probably would have went. But I just didn't want to, pay $30 and go downtown.
It's always all about Granny. It's all about Granny, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if I'd had to pay $70, I probably would have tore the place apart.
Well, I wish you would have been there then to tear the place apart.
Indeed.
Well, I would have.
We had people saying that it's insulting to not tip. And I was like,
insulting.
I was attempting to insult them. That was my goal.
We were insulted. We wanted to insult them back.
Yes. That was the entire point.
They added it on, and that's something else you should find out before you go anywhere. Ask them if they add that.
Apparently, somebody mentioned that you can ask them to take off the automatic gratuity if you'd like.
Well, you probably could have if you'd have, asked them, but they're not going to tell you. They'll just wait and do it.
And by the way, it is now Friday, and I have heard nothing from these people. Nothing.
Well, that just goes to show. And I've got my pictures of you saw my pictures of our Super China buffet that we had at the Senior Center.
That's right. You're supposed to somehow get those on the computer and email them to me.
I don't know how to do that. Nikki was over here this morning. She didn't have very much time, but she helped me learn how to paste and copy and paste and whatever. But then we tried to transfer the pictures from my camera onto the computer, and it wouldn't work. So my new computer and the camera, we're going to have to figure out what's wrong. So we'll transfer pictures.
Maybe put it in the washer. Maybe that'll help.
I'm not going to do that. I love my camera that I can make my own pictures.
Granny, did you, good thing we got a cough button here. Granny, did you listen to the Buddy Wayne show today?
Yes, I did. I feel so bad for him. I was going to say, tell him I'm keeping him in my prayers.
Yeah, he's had a rough last 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah, if you guys haven't listened to the Buddy Wayne show yet today, you might want to check that one out if you're big fans of the show, because boy, oh boy.
It sucks to be Buddy.
It certainly does suck to be Buddy right now. But he's on the mend.
How long's this been going on?
Well, it's been, 2 or 3 weeks, so he's got another week or two before he's off before the tube is out of his arm.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they ain't messing around. It's bad times.
Well, he's always had problems with his back and everything.
Yeah, he's had a lot of misfortunes.
He's had some lows.
But,
I noticed his language wasn't quite as bad as it usually is.
You could hear him?
In too much pain to swear.
There may have been a lot of swearing going on amongst the slurring there. He's not feeling well.
Another one I wanted to mention, Dave's little girl. I think that's great.
Yeah, did you see the little girl's name?
What was it?
It's the same name as your cat.
That's what I thought. I was telling everybody, I thought I heard him say Carly.
That's
that's
right.
Great.
Now, do you love that cat even more now?
Well, he doesn't know that he's named it after my cat, though.
Maybe he does. Maybe he's a fan of the show. Maybe he listened to the show where we talked about how old your cat was, and he thought, Carly, what a beautiful name for a young lass.
I think that's a very pretty name.
Sure is. Yeah.
And did you put a picture of my porch on there?
That's going to go up with this particular program.
Oh, good. Didn't it look great, Brian?
It did look really, really good. I took a picture at the same angle of all the other pictures, and Granny chastised me, saying I needed to take it at a better angle to show more of it.
Well, and you sent in the wrong one. You sent in the one I didn't like.
The one you didn't like?
Yeah, the first one.
I know that was where it was last week. We're doing a picture every week to follow the follow the construction.
I know, but Tuesday you took 2 pictures.
I know. I haven't put either of them up yet.
Oh my God! Come on.
I'm going to put your favorite one up. Shut up,
the
Vince.
Second one.
No one's listening to this segment for you.
No one's listening to this segment.
Are you kidding me? So anyway, Granny, when's Dancing with the Stars start?
I haven't checked it. September.
Just for that video, I have something to talk to you about after this. September 17th?
Something like that.
Well, so a couple of weeks left.
Yeah, well, when they get the pictures on the computer, I usually print them out and have a picture of each one of them with the person that they're dancing with. And I keep track every week of what their points are and stuff.
You've got to be kidding me. You print out pictures of all the contestants to help keep track of them?
Uh-huh.
All right. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, I have them right there in front of me, and I've marked down what their score is and what they're doing each week, and,
Vinny, she does so much more preparation than you do. Good for her. Now,
in fact, every night here, tonight I sat down and said, well, it's time to do my homework.
That's right. So what homework did you do?
Well, I still have quite a few things that people ask me that I haven't, they haven't sent anything in recently, but I still have quite a few that I haven't gotten to.
Well, let's do a couple of those before we wrap it up.
Okay. Well, one of them asked me if I killed anything big.
Anything big?
Yeah, I haven't killed anything except bugs.
Well,
you never, even back in the farm days, you never slaughtered an animal?
You never went hunting with Grandpa Larkin?
Well, I might have, but the only thing I would have killed there was him.
All right.
Okay. Next.
But he wouldn't let me have a gun.
Well, I don't blame him after that statement.
No fool, that Grandpa Larkin.
Anyway, they want me. I'm probably going to stick my foot in my mouth again on this one, but they wanted to know who my favorite politician was, and I liked Harry Truman. I know they think he was bad for the A-bomb and all that, but
Harry Truman, you say?
Yeah, if he hadn't have sent the A-bomb, they would have came and got us, and we'd have all been in the gas chamber.
Well,
that's no good.
That's an argument I guess you could make. Harry Truman.
Sure. Yeah.
What about Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, that's way back too far.
How about Calvin Coolidge?
No, I don't know any of those guys.
How about Grover Cleveland?
Come on now.
Abe Lincoln.
How about George Washington?
How about him?
How about him?
He's the one that had the wooden false teeth. Maybe that's what I should get.
I would bet a bunch of them had wooden false teeth there by the end.
That's the only one I've heard of, though.
All right, what's next? That's the only president you've heard of besides Eisenhower?
What?
Go on. Next question.
Okay, this one guy wanted to know if I've read the Gorgeous George book. Well, I haven't read much of it, but I'm glad I have it. And my sister's granddaughter wrote a book, and I haven't read that. And I haven't read Bryan's book either, at Death of WCW, so that just
available at Amazon.com.
I don't have too much time to read.
Granny's got a busy schedule, everybody. She's got a very busy schedule.
Well, for instance, today we took 4 little kids to the park.
I would rather do that.
You can't read then.
Nikki was taking care of her friend's 2 little girls, so we took them to the park.
Granny, does the name Mildred Burke ring a bell?
Mildred Burke.
A lady grappler from the your era?
No, I don't.
No, it doesn't ring a bell?
Oh, I used to go with a guy with the last name of Burke, though.
Doubtful it's...
B-U-R-K-E.
B-U-R-K-E, yes.
Yeah.
I guess it was that family.
I don't know her.
Yeah, may have been, I don't know. All right, what's next?
Well, I mean...
Because there's a great book about Mildred Burke. She was a wrestler in the, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and thought maybe that'd be something you would want to read.
Well, I never read, though. I don't have time to do any reading.
All right. Okay, that's fine, Granny.
The other thing I wanted to ask you guys remember Red Skelton?
Sure.
Can I say a couple of the jokes that he had?
Please do.
Why not?
Okay, here's one. It says, my wife ran after the garbage truck, yelling, "Am I too late for the garbage?" The driver said, "No, jump in."
One more.
You didn't get that?
I got it.
Okay.
I sure did.
My wife told me the car wasn't running well because there was water in the carburetor. I asked her, where's the car? And she said, in the lake.
That's funny.
I thought you might say in the washing machine.
Yeah, you're never going to let me live that one down, are you?
Granny, is your refrigerator running?
Hey, talking about refrigerators, my neighbors across the way, they're, I guess, trying to remodel their little dump that they're living in. They put a refrigerator out there, and I could not believe that thing. The bottom of it was all rusty.
Well, that's why they put it out there.
I know, but can you imagine how long that had probably been in the house?
Probably a while, I guess. Gosh, ridiculous. All right, Granny, let's do 2 more questions, then we got to wrap it up.
Okay, they wanted to know what I thought was the downfall of America, whether it was video games, TV, or the movies.
A tremendous question, this.
Yes.
All 3 plus the downfall of America, I would say, are the politicians.
Except for Eisenhower.
Where do you get that? Eisenhower.
Truman, sorry. Whichever guy you were talking about earlier. I was not paying all that much attention.
Harry Truman.
Truman, that's right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the downfall of Western civilization as a whole?
Well, it's the politicians that are doing it.
Okay, so a blanket answer for all of the downfall of civilization.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next question.
Oh, let me see. I have
last one here. Pick a good one. Pick a good one for the last one.
Okay, they wanted to know what my favorite alcoholic drink was.
That should be good.
I used to drink the gin and tonic.
Oh.
And I loved Galliano and coffee, and then they asked me if I had ever drank a Joker Bomb or whatever that is.
A Jaeger Bomb.
Jaeger Bomb. What is it?
It's Jägermeister and Red Bull.
The answer's no, Granny.
They're delicious.
Okay.
That's all, folks. Oh, Granny, we're going to try to head to Music in the Park tomorrow at Pop Keeney with the fireworks afterwards.
Don't count on me too much.
All right, well, we don't need you, Granny. I just want to watch the fireworks.
Okay.
You be there, Granny, or be square.
Well, last time I said that and you didn't come.
Well, I'll do my best this time. I want to see fireworks. That's kind of cool.
I think it probably would be. I'm going to try and go, but I'm not too sure.
All right, I'll keep you updated throughout the day.
Yeah, and I sure appreciate you guys having our rooms for us already.
Yeah, we've, Mr. Highlight, a great man, has hooked you up.
Well,
Jayalai, I like to call him.
Who do I thank for it?
Mr. Jayalai.
Oh, the one, I'll have to email him, huh?
I'll hook you up.
Well, I think I can get it off of the thing that you emailed me.
Yes, you could. You could do that as well.
Okay.
All right, so...
Who's paying for it, though?
Mr. Jayalai.
We'll take care of you, Granny.
Oh.
I say we, but it's Mr. Jayalai, yes.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.
All righty.
All right, have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Crazy.
That turned around at the end.
Turned around at the end. It was great the whole time.
No one cares about the porch.
Why are you so angry and bitter? What do you mean no one cares about the porch? We've been talking about the porch for 4 weeks now. We're building the storyline.
I'm just tired. I'm tired, and I had to... And partly my fault because I was late, and then I had to wait for you to talk about Ray, which, as we noted, no one cares about.
Well, it's very important.
It's not, though.
But it is, obviously. I mean, we needed a breaking news update on the suspension of Rey Mysterio Jr. for an unspecified drug with unspecified consequences. Very important.
He's been suspended. He'll be back in a month. Life will go on. He won't be at a breaking point.
No, he won't.
Cares.
No.
It's not like he's missing Mania.